citing that they were failing to filter hate messages. Again, just going by what this particular party is talking about, hate speech messages and the clips going round that sort of paint and tainted in a bad image. But again, you can remember that the Ministry of ICT said that we are a free state and hence we cannot do that because freedom of speech also lies within our constitution. So whether or not NCAC will be acting on that particular clip, that still remains a matter of wait and see. But remember, when it comes to the issue of leaflets, so far the Interior Ministry has arrested 8 persons who are suspected to have been the ones who have been circulating those particular leaflets in the county of Uasin Gishu. Away from matters to do with politics, I just want to take you through matters to do with food security, which is also again one of those stories that has clearly made its way on the front page of this particular daily. Looking at the details there, remember that earlier on we had talked about the issue of drought as well as food security in our country, but also, as it turns out, we are now being urged to go back to indigenous foods just to improve diet as well as food security. And this also has been largely tied on the skyrocketing prices that we have been experiencing so far for the past few months when it comes to food commodities there. When you look at the skyrocketing prices of maize flour, so to speak, so this is this article is just trying to highlight here, just citing that the recent rise in the price of maize flour, popularly known in Kenya as unga, is a clear message to farmers, consumers, researchers and policy makers in our ailing food system to just try and look for other forms or indigenous foods, so to speak. But again, when we come to those details, I'll also be telling you what the CS of Agriculture said in respect to this indigenous foods. And again, what was also being profiled is that, is this the right time to be having this conversation of going back to indigenous foods just when we are in a crisis of matters to do with food security and the high prices of unga? Jane?
Now, coming back to the Daily Nation and the Star newspaper, there's one particular story that has been captured on both dailies. This is in regards to 12 voters, at least 12 voters. On the Daily Nation, they point out a different figure. But here on the Star, they point out that at least 12 voters want UDA out of the polls for nominating Gachagua as the running mate for Deputy President William Ruto. But generally, they're speaking about the same story. So the story focuses on a group of activists that want Gachagua, Sakaja, and 12 other politicians barred from this year's polls. This is because they claim that these individuals have violated the Leadership and Integrity Act. This is in Chapter 6 of the Constitution by being involved in criminal activities, or rather being suspected of being involved in criminal activities. Here on the Star, they go on to give a list of these politicians. We have Rigathi Gachagua, Johnson Sakaja, Samuel Arama, Muthomi Njuki, John Waluke. We also have Evans Kidero, Anne Waiguru, Aisha Jumwa, Okoth Obado, Mohammed Ali, Oscar Sudi, and Ali Korani. So these are the individuals that this particular group of activists want the courts to bar them from participating in this year's general elections, and they also want UDA to be collectively barred from, or rather deregistered by the Registrar of Political Parties for having nominated Gachagua, knowing fully well that he was suspected in a particular case that, of course, we got the final hearing for. So now they go on to say that UDA specifically has shown radical indifference. Oh, lawyers and these big words. They've shown radical indifference towards its duty to ensure fidelity to integrity and leadership values as a party. So now they want this process to be expedited, given we have about how many days to go to the polls? Less than about 5 days to vote, and they want this matter to be expedited, and we get to hear the final ruling by Monday, a day before the polls. And on the other hand, you're looking at the fact that ballot papers have already been printed. Any of these individuals looking at the different offices that they're running for, those that are running for elective positions, the ballot papers have already been printed. We're just awaiting the formal notification by the IEBC that everything is set and have been sent out to the different polling centers. So what does this even mean? Like, should they be officially barred from participating? but the ballot papers have already been printed. Doreen, will they go and cancel out the name in every ballot paper to just make sure that this individual does not get voted for? You know, election preparation is a very sensitive time, and having cases like this being brought up just 5 days to the general elections is quite concerning when it comes to the preparation of even this particular group. Like, you knew you wanted to do this, but you have to wait until the last minute because it costs money to print these ballot papers.
And you can remember also that's what largely locked out Ruben Kigame, because IEBC was saying that we'll need
to reprint
almost 1 million just to have his name, and this is only one individual on the ballot. And again, just as you rightly put it, Jen, this is why IEBC is also talking about the 11 counties whereby they still have these unresolved cases. So the question is, you are raising a very good question, because these names are already on the ballot. Why? Because they were already cleared, and now they are presidential presidential
deputy
candidates,
presidential, among many others.
Exactly. So you can imagine that these names are already on the ballot. In the event that now the court rules otherwise, what happens? Or in the event that these cases, which are already in court of in this particular 11 counties, and then the case rules in favor of them, will they include these names on the ballot? So it's a catch-22 kind of situation, and it also puts the country in a place of Kenyans thinking then maybe we are not ready for these elections.
And then the other the law clearly says you're innocent until proven guilty.
Exactly.
But this particular group of activists, they go on to say, I don't know, is it here on the Daily Nation or the Star, that, as I drop my paper, that the concept of innocent until proven guilty, the presumption rather of the declaration of innocent until proven guilty does not apply to criminal suspect seeking elective seats.
But the law is not selective at the end of the day. It needs to be cutting across.
Well, that's that particular story. It's both on the Daily Nation as well as the Star. And given today is Entertainment Thursday, on the front page of the Daily Nation, there's a story concerning Sauti Sol. We all love Sauti Sol. I love Sauti Sol. So they, about 4 years ago, they got a record deal with Universal Records. But they recently disclosed on their social media platforms that they have broken ties with this particular record label. And this is because, one, their contract was nearing its expiry, and it was either they renew it or they break ties. And they chose to break ties in order to focus on their own record label, Soul Generation. But looking at the time that they were under Universal Records, they were able to put out one of their most popular albums, Midnight Train, but they, according to Bien, who is one of the band members, went on to say that they are now focusing on producing their next album, which will be fully produced under their record label, Soul Generation. And this is a move that many people have had different opinions about, but personally, looking at the fact that they decided as a group to break ties with such an international big brand like Universal Records to focus on a record label that is Soul Generation, that is back here at home, says a lot that we need to applaud.
Supporting our own.
Because, you know, looking at how much more they stood to gain with this record, as opposed to the much more work they need to put with their record label to ensure people that we can produce quality music, quality videos, quality artists, and make good money, is a move that we need to applaud.
Oh yes, and we're here to give you a quality show. But before we continue, time for a very quick break. We return with what the different dailies still are holding for you. Stay put.
2022 Commonwealth Games will be hosted in Birmingham, United Kingdom from the 28th of July through the 8th of August 2022. Team Kenya is set to make its 17th appearance at the Games. Kenya will contest for medals in several disciplines, among them athletics, boxing, hockey, rugby, weightlifting, wheelchair basketball and parasports, among others. Watch the Games live on KBC Channel 1. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
We can't continue to keep on living like this.
We made it, sweetie. Now Gonzalo will never find his money again. Never.
Lionel can't do that to you. No, he can't leave with the money that is mine and my sons to inherit. No.
I want to be with you and with our children. Because for me, Mao will be like my son.
That's why I'm backing her up with this marriage, and I am more than happy to do it. You do understand what I'm saying, right?
We have to find a way. And what could be better than to take away what you love the most?
Welcome back. You're still on Good Morning Kenya, and we continue with what the different dailies that we are holding for you this morning. And let's just come back to the Standard, still on the campaign trail with the different cases of violence that are now being recorded. And you can remember, this is why there's a clear message on just trying to ensure that we uphold peace in this particular election. And going by what we have here is that 745 women assaulted in campaigns. This is what this particular report now indicates. And now just these 745 women comprised of the aspirants together with their female supporters who were abused before, during party primaries. This is actually a report that was released by the Federation of Women Lawyers, that is FIDA, that revealed that. And also what is coming out is that a majority of the women who were subjected to electoral, sexual and gender-based violence were from Siaya County, which had 59 cases, followed by Kisumu and Nairobi counties with the 40 assault cases. So Siaya takes the bulk of most of these cases, whereby sexual and gender-based violent cases have been reported in the country in respect to particularly women, the women aspirants or women candidates in the various seats there. Away from that, we now look at that story concerning the Form 34As and Bs and what IBC now is saying. Remember that earlier on IBC had talked about having two Form 34As, and the question was then, where does that leave the Form 34B, or what will be the work of that? Remember, within our constitution, we need to just be having one Form 34A and one Form 34B. 34As, which is supposed to be used in the polling station, and then that transferred to the returning officers, whereby they need to be filling that in the Form 34B. But now IBC has come to well explain this, and I'll just run you through basically what they talked about in respect to this. And they say that complaints or discrepancies that may arise in Form 34A will only be resolved by the Supreme Court through a presidential election petition. IBC declaration also means that should any of the presidential candidates or agents point out discrepancies in results captured from the Form 34A, then only remedy is to file an election petition at the Supreme Court. He further on just went on to say this was in respect to the chairperson responding to Azimio, One Kenya and Kenya Kwanza formation. You can remember, again, this is also one of those times where we saw the two main frontrunners closing ranks on a particular issue in respect to this election. And so in response to this, this concerns, so to speak, about the result declaration of the form known as the Form 34A. Chebukati also said at the close of the voting, the presiding officer is required to count votes and enter results in Form 34A. Take a scanned image of this particular form are using the KIMS kit and transmit the image to the National Tallying Center. And also, just continuing by that address, is that he explained that the constituency returning officer is required to collect all Form 34As, prepare Form 34B, and submit all Form 34As together with Form 34B to the presidential returning officer. So clearly just going to show you that the earlier directive of having 2 Form 34As is not going to be in play. Countering that is that we're going to be having only 1 Form 34A as it needs to be, and the Form 34B. So that on the polling station as well as it to be used by the returning officer there. Again, also the issue of having the manual register is again coming to the fore. We also expect the courts to address that. Remember that IEBC had really said that their primary source of identification will be the KIMS key. That is the technology there. If things turn a bit worse, then they might resort to the alphanumeric form of identification, and if things get really thick, that is just when they might resort to the manual register. But again, key concerns being profiled is that at the end of the day, that still needs to be at the various polling stations. So we're waiting to see how that court ruling is going to be looking like, whether or not they're going to be asking IBC to, at the end of the day, ensure that they have the manual register at the polling stations. Jane.
All right, let me now touch on a bit of health here on the Star. There's a piece concerning the state of the fight against teen pregnancies, gender-based violence, and HIV and AIDS infections. A while back, there was also a piece on this particular, focusing on this particular aspects on the Daily Nation, and the ministry, and this was according to a report that was put out by the Ministry of Health, courtesy of Dr. Masdi Mwangangi, at an event that was hosted by the National AIDS Control Agency, where they said the biggest triple threat to teen and adolescent girls remain to be early pregnancies, gender-based violence, and HIV and AIDS infections. So this particular story here focuses on the efforts that the state needs to make in order to curb this particular vices, saying that the state should be intentional in this particular fight, with the country that has over 75% of its population being youthful, that are aged between 18 and 35 years of age, adolescents being categorized those between 10 and 24 years old, and this is according to the 2019 census. When it comes to reproductive health outcomes in our country, they remain wanting. Now, looking at these three factors, and given the fact that Kenya was recently ranked 3rd worldwide when it comes to teen pregnancies, and this is also backed by the information that was put out by the Ministry of Health earlier on in the year, between the months of January and February, there were a total 45,700 cases that were recorded of teen pregnancies of girls aged between 10 and 19. Looking at new HIV infections, it was put at 98 new weekly cases. Every week, 98 new HIV infection cases were reported of teens that were aged between 12 and 17 years of age, man. It's very sad, but they go on to say that the lack of political goodwill and a conducive legal policy and environment continues to be one of the biggest challenges when it comes to addressing this issue, and also the conversation around unsafe abortions, saying that ignoring the impact that unsafe abortions has on our young girls and burying our heads in the sand will continue to be a pain in our back, and we need to handle this matter head on. So you can go ahead and read more of that here on the Star. Doreen.
Yeah, let's still stick with the Standard, and this is in respect to the slashing of allowances for the members of parliament. This is a recommendation that has just been recently given by the SRC. And it has obviously elicited mixed reaction amongst Kenyans, amongst the lawmakers. Just to go by what some of them are saying, is that there's one who says that I firmly endorse the move by the Salaries Commissions to slash allowances and car grants for legislators, as this will go a long way in saving on taxpayers' money. Remember that MPs as well as senators, they have different sittings in parliament. I think MPs is about 4 a week, and MPs is 5, senators should be 4 per week, and every of this seating there's allowances allocated to them. So what had been coming out is that if they are elected to be in parliament, to represent, legislate, oversight, whichever role it is they're doing, and they are paid for this job at the end of the day, then why again are they being given allowances? And their job just entails being there. They're coming up with these laws, policies, could be in parliament or in the different house committees. So clearly, looking at that move by SRC to particularly scrap the allowances of the plenary sitting is what I'm just saying has really elicited a mixed reaction. But again, also what is being profiled is that once we see the 13th parliament coming to office after this election, they're just saying that this could be one of those conversations in parliament, and just this move by SRC might not really sit well with them, and they might just again also end up scrapping it off. So we wait to see how all that will be looking like, because what really is really coming out is that this is for the benefit of the taxpayers at the end of the day. Away from that, let's quickly look at this particular article on the various alternatives that we might just be trying to look into as a country when it comes to food, and particularly carbohydrates. And this has also been occasioned by the high rise of unga prices. We are alive to the fact that yes, the state has reduced that from the previous price of around 210 to 100 shillings thereabout. But again, remember, this is very limited, because as they mentioned is that this is supposed to take place only in 4 weeks. So it simply means that after the election, or slightly after that, we might just be going back to the previous price of this particular commodity. So which alternatives are in existence for Kenyans amid this high cost of this kind of commodity? Just going by what we have here, and again citing the issues that have also got us to this particular point, citing the issue of the rains, which as predicted by the Met Department, they were below average, and farmers in despair. They have just been watching as their crops dry, and so they do not really have an alternative, so to speak. But food aid dispensed in these areas is below, again, also the food requirements of the household, but it is giving hope to mothers that their children have something little to eat in the hope for better days. So looking at these alternatives that are being put forth includes sweet potatoes, cassavas, arrowroots, bananas, yams, sorghum, millet. I mean, Jane, do you think it's time that we need to start thinking of something different except just unga ya ugali na ugali kila wakati? Think of cassavas, of yams.
It's interesting because some of those are considered traditional meals.
Yes.
And sainde watu wanaanza to realize, we need to go back to this. But they've always been there. Mm-hmm. They've always been a healthy alternative, especially for things like bread. You can always switch it up for that. But ugali is bay. Ugali.
It's our staple
You're not
food.
Kenyan if you don't appreciate ugali. So I understand the need for you to just have ugali, at least even if it's just once a week. But hey, to each their own.
So you're saying we can't quite substitute. We can have this, but to see now we are doing away with this thing.
Kuachilia ugali kabisa.
It's tricks.
And you actually see how much more it's valued by people who maybe travel outside the country and go to spaces where this particular brands of maize flour are not available. Even sausages, people always complain, sausages za home, sausages za Kenya, compared to those from different countries, they just hit different. So kuna kutu wako kautamu.
Yeah, and actually just the other day, the CS for Agriculture, Munya, came under the fire for telling Kenyans that we need to be substituting this. And the question was, why? Because is this coming at this time? When we are in this food crisis, do we need to look at long-term solutions as opposed to just short and mid-term?
And it remains to be one of the most affordable forms of meal for most Kenyans.
Exactly.
So when the prices go up on that, what other alternatives are you proposing we go for? Because trust me, other alternatives would cost more.
Yeah.
All right. Now, let me bring you finally to this last story here on the Daily Nation. A report that was put out by FIDA that listed 14 counties that are most hostile to women when it comes to this campaigning period. And Siaya is at the top of this list, followed by Kisumu, then Nairobi County. Now the others are Kericho, Marsabit, Kisii, Nakuru, Vihiga, Busia, Narok, Kitui, Kitui, Bomet, Uasin Gishu, and Mombasa. These are the 14 counties that have been termed as most hostile for women, and especially during these periods that we are in this electioneering space. And they go on to advise women to be more vigilant, to be alert during this particular campaigning period, building up to the big day that is the 9th of August. So you can read more of that here on the Daily Nation. D. Kwako sasa.
Let me just stick on the election matters. And Jen, you really mentioned that, just 4 days to the polls in terms of campaign. This is 48 hours, according to our constitution, whereby meetings and campaigns need to end. And we are seeing the two main front runners really going back to those areas which are normally termed as strongholds, particularly for each of them. And there's also a clear way in which you're seeing them, particularly going back to the Mount Kenya region and specifically Kiambu County. Remember that Kiambu County is the second county with the highest number of voters. This is after Nairobi, about 1.3 to 1.4 million voters. This is after Nairobi, which is 2.4 million voters. So when you look at these particular places, clearly one of those areas where you'd really be seeing these candidates going to. And just going by what we have here is the DP addressed campaign rallies in various centers in Kirinyaga and Kiambu counties. This is just a few days after his main opponent, that is Raila Odinga, visited the area with his running mate Martha Karua. So what you're seeing right here is that what we call the undoing, doing, redoing. So when we have one candidate going to Kiambu today, we are having the other one go there, tomorrow, 2 days after. And again, we also had a report which released just the number of times that these candidates have been to these areas, particularly as we mentioned the strongholds. And we look at Mount Kenya to be specific, countless number of times that they have been there. Remember that what we have had so far is that if Raila Odinga really has to come out as the winner, then there's a certain threshold that he needs to at least close in that particular region. Then we have, if DP has to come out as the winner, then we are being told that ideally he needs to continue regaining ground in that area. So if you see them going to this area just 48 hours or particularly 4 days to the polls, it's quite significant for this candidate. So that's what we have here. And also this particular report again highlights the poll ratings by the various pollsters. Remember that as of yesterday, which was August 3rd, was actually the last day to ever conduct and release polls. And that is also within our constitution. So it means from today onwards up until the election, we will be having no opinion polls from any pollster, because they're hard up until yesterday to do that. And we've also seen quite a number of polls just being released either by Ipsos or Infotrack in this past few days. So that is what you have on the different dailies that we had for you this morning. Jen, Tukimaliza, we do believe you're now best positioned to grab whichever daily best resonates with you. But you can always keep talking to us. Let us know where you're watching us from. We are using the hashtag Good Morning Kenya on Twitter. Our official station handle ever remains to be at KBC Channel 1. My handle is at Jane Wambui. My coach is at Doreen Arangi. We take a musical break, but we'll be back to continue with Good Morning Kenya and all the goodness, all the good that we have lined up for you. Do stay with us.
In the sprawling suburbs of Nairobi's Langata estate, we visit Bwen Eve Studios.
Right now you're in the studio, and studio entails a lot of things. As you can see, you might think these are decorations. These are not decorations, these are acoustic forms that are used for at least to reduce echo. Between this and the main wall, we have another treatment. We put something called rock wool. Some people put foam, and then you put gypsum, and then you put this. This one is just to reduce echo. But the main soundproof is behind this at the gypsum.
Studio gear are the main tools used in this production process.
So these are MIDI controllers. Some people will call them keyboard, but they're not keyboards. These are MIDI controllers. the control sound that we have on our DAW. DAW is our digital software that we use to record. We have so many kind of those softwares, but as we use the one that is called Logic. Then of course our computer, studio monitors, sound card, and that's our booth where there's microphone and our musicians sing from that side.
The song production process involves different kinds of sounds and instruments. So, what is the first step in the music production process?
He comes, we create from nothing to something. So we started by listening to his idea. I captured it immediately. I had to look for tempo. Tempo is the speed. Every song must have a constant speed and or time signature. In music, they call it time signature. So we look for the time signature.
Some songs call for outsourcing of live instruments.
At some point, we usually outsource now live instruments, because when there's some songs, if you put live instruments, it gives the song very, very good classical sound.
But does everybody who comes to the studio qualify as a musician?
There's some who have money, but they can't sing. And even if you train them, you take them to school, they can't sing, but they're passionate about it. And that those who are just gifted. They come the first day, you listen to them, you're like, hey, we're working with this one. Again, they don't struggle.
The process begins when the producer meets with the musician in studio. Today, this singer is doing his own rendition over him.
I bless the Laboriat and Souls of World, so I go by the name Real Man Redemption International.
The songwriting can happen before or after the artist comes to studio.
How I write my music? I really don't write my music at home. I love writing my songs in studio, because being inspired while the producer is just playing the keys, the keyboards.
The producer then sits down with the artist to get the general idea of what the singer wants.
There's this old version song named
The producer kickstarts by finding a tempo. The tempo gives the song speed. Next, the producer finds the chords that will be a bed on which the instrumentation is laid.
Okay, so we try to get something.
Sometimes the song would demand for extra help from another specialist.
The other producer, so he came to help me to put some drums.
After that is done, the vocals are added.
Yeah.
The singer's voice is captured through the microphone. The audio file is then brought to the sound card. It comes as an analog, but the sound card changes the sound itself to digital through their computer software. This fine to the process, everything is considered as a demo, meaning there's room for more changes to be added to the instrumentation and the beat production.
The first instrumentation was the keyboard, the piano sound. Actually, I layered. Layered is whereby you mix more than one instrument at the same time, and then you play with the keyboard. So I layered electric piano or e-piano. I layered piano itself, and then some strings.
Next comes the mixing.
Mixing means positioning each and everything where it's supposed to be. You know, every instrument has a frequency, making sure that every instrument falls in the right frequencies and then also falls in the right position.
After the mixing is done, the song is mastered.
Making sure that every voice sits in its position. We pan. Like here you see we are panning left or right or center, you get it? You see? This one is when we pan. At the same time, we use some plugins also, just to make sure that our voice sounds the way we want.
Mastering is the final stage in the music production process.
And then we have a song.
After the song has been mixed and mastered, the product is now considered ready for market. Reporting for KBC from Langata in Nairobi County, I'm Nisi Imano.
My kids are always on their devices. Kila saa.
Mommy, look, I'm a cyber soldier.
Huyu, he's always on his social. But online ina mambo mengi. It's a new world of risks.
The Communications Authority of Kenya, CA, manages Kenya's cyberspace to keep you and your family safe online so you can learn, interact, and thrive online.
Na mimi, can I be a cyber soldier too?
The Communications Authority of Kenya, opening your world.
We can't continue.
Made it, sweetie. Now Gonzalo will never find his money again. Never.
Lionel can't do that to you. No, he can't leave with the money that is mine and my son's to inherit. No.
I want to be with you and with our children. Because for me, Mao will be like my son.
That's why I'm backing her up with this marriage, and I am more than happy to do it. You do understand what I'm saying, right?
Only have to find a way. And what could be better than to take away what you love the most?
The 2022 Commonwealth Games will be hosted in Birmingham, United Kingdom from the 28th of July through the 8th of August 2022. Team Kenya is set to make its 17th appearance at the Games. Kenya will contest for medals in several disciplines, among them athletics, boxing, hockey, rugby, weightlifting, wheelchair basketball, and parasports, among others. Watch the Games live on KBC Channel 1. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Past the top of the hour, we now continue with the program, and obviously time for our first conversation this Thursday morning. It is all about matters elections, just looking at, how this is tied to different entities in our country. And right now we look at how entertainment is tied to elections in terms of peace, propagating the peace message. This is what you're set to converse with my guest and wako hapa, music artist. Should I say artist, music artist?
Yeah,
zote ziko sawa.
Yeah.
To my immediate right, that is Felix Ayoga. Is it?
Yeah. Felix Ayoga.
And then right next to him is Harry Obonyo.
Yeah.
karibuni sana to the program.
Asante sana.
Na umevaa t-shirt zenye zinasema amani ni muhimu.
Peace muhimu sana ya.
Peace ni muhimu.
Yeah, hasa kwa mayouth. Lazima tueneze peace sana.
Tueneze peace.
Yeah.
You are an artist in your own define.
Yeah.
Which kind of music do you do? Because I know we will come to you. We've done a conversation with you before. But which kind of music do you do?
I do gospel, urban gospel. I have my own style called Zakiro style music. One of fuse Kiswahili Luya version. Still I'm a producer. Yeah. Yeah.
So basically gospel is your kind of music.
Yeah.
Ata yako Felix ni gospel.
I just do gospel.
Gospel
ministry
music.
yani.
Ministry. Not a gospel artist but a gospel minister.
Yeah.
All right, now let's just go to the conversation. Say tunana wasanii wengi, and I keep saying actually, you know, art is holistic. It cuts across, you know, from music to drawing, to acting, theater. Na wengi wao wanajitokeza wako pale nje anasema message ya peace, it's important. Just talk to me how important this is, and particularly coming from a young person. Pale nje anasema we have to ensure that we keep and maintain peace in this election. Let me start with you, Felix.
One thing, umemwa peace. Neza ama nikisema kuongelea peace, unajua once tuko na amani katika Kenya, utapata tunasonga mbele sana. But tukiwa na ile mambo disagreements labda ama politicians ama wale wenye tumechagua, unajua kiongozi si tutavote tu, but Mungu ndiye anatupea kiongozi bora, unaona. So yule mwenye atakuwa tukiamua ni yeye na tumsupport, Kenya itaenda mbele sana. Lakini tukikaa chini tukianza kuthink about ati mimi nipigane na ndugu yangu yule tunasol na pesa kidogo tunapata 100-150, nimekupiga wewe ama nimechoma kibanda yako, nitakosa mali, nitakula mboga kesho na utatoroka, mimi utakosa client na mimi utanikosa hata pesa yangu kidogo, unajua. So ukitoka pale, kwa hiyo ni ya kibanda seme economically tarudi ni chini sana. Juu utapata tumechoma nchi, tuna deni tayari, vitu yenyefa tuko tunalipa, unaona. So tutakuwa tumerudi nyuma, makampuni zimefunga, watu wafanye kazi, yani tutakuwa economically tutakuwa tumeenda tu chini sana. So that's why tumekuja kama maboys tukasema ama vijana wadogo to preach to peace na tushikane, tufanye kazi, ile kiongozi atakuwa Mungu akisema ndo huyu, tushikane na tumsupport. Yani kila kitu kitakuwa sawa na Kenya itasonga mbele sana.
Harry, I mean, you could have decided mimi nafanya muziki ya gospel, so I mean I may just be here and continue doing my music, wasanii wengine wanafanya. But why was it important for you just to come out as an artist? Because tena nasema usanii ni kioo cha jamii, so art plays a very big role in our society. But did you feel the need to come out and just be an agent, a champion?
Okay, what I trust, what I believe ni hata ukitumia tu for example as a person like hata kama una peace in your heart, like unapatanga like everything I run. So I worked on, nilikaa chini nikathinka imefika high time we do something like peace, cause without peace, penye tu my brother amesema, without peace vitu haziwezi run. Cause itabidi maybe my brother is tribe ABCD, me I'm tribe ABCD. So when we fight, unapata kama alikuwa mama mboga pale na ile hayuko tena, na ile susina that thing. So na watu wengi wenye wanakujanga like kusumbua sana, like kama kufight ama kusumbuana most ni mayouth. Kwa sababu ndio wanatumia vibaya, anapewa pesa kidogo nini, anasumbua brother yake mwenye kesho atamuomba kitu yenye anaweza saidia. So that's why sisi tulisema like kwa sababu sisi ni mayouth, I think tunaweza ongea language yenye youth pia kwa pale China anaweza sema kama ni mayouth ana preach wanataka like tuache, maybe wanaweza tuelewa more. So that's why ndiamua as a gospel artist pia hiyo song ukisikia tunaomba most tumeiweka like is a prayer, tunaomba kama unataka like nini uweze enda side fulani uambie mtu, but ukiwa kwa nyumba you can pray na Mungu apitie kwa prayer pia aongee na your brother na to keep peace pia.
Felix, I mean, and we will come to, you know, the youths as we momentarily continue this conversation, but let me come to you, Felix. Tuambie tu, yes, we understand the whole idea of what you guys are doing, because as I said, wasanii wengi wanafanya, you know, peace initiatives hapa nje. But concept ilianza vipi, given the fact that mpaka sasa mko na branded, you know, kind of clothing, t-shirts, and even in that song you people, all of you actually are branded. Felix, tuambie more about how the initiative just came about.
Yeah, song wajua mostly tuna
because the song is 3 weeks old, is it?
Yeah, ngoma tulika nilikuwa ni nini rafiki yangu hapa Reniesta alinipigia simu, is a producer, ndio akovienda song. Akaniambia
idea ni yeye.
Akaniambia Sule, what can we do? Nikamwambia election ndio hii. Tuko na machine. Tunaweza fanya ngoma ya peace. So akaniambia we can plan a day to meet studio, at least tuonge na sani wenzetu wengine tunawak nao. Wakam studio, at least can have an idea, then put something on the paper, have to release. So then we had to plan for a day. Nikafika studio, nikapata ameonda kitu kidogo, chords, tukajaza, nikaeka chorus, tukawa tumeshikana wasanii wengi. So tulikuwa wengi, wasanii kadha studio ya tulifanya nao. So tukawa tunathink about, tunajua peace, idea yetu ilikuwa all about peace. So tukasema tukifanya ngoma ya peace, ama tuseme tukifanya ngoma tunajibamba, itakuwa na hii situation ya peace itakuwa na sense vile. So tukakuja pamoja, tukashare ideas. Tukaamua tufanye tu audio ama tufanye mpaka na video. Tukasema video inaweza kuwa more better, at least tunaweza enda mahali hasa naweza tuona, unaona. So nikaongea na studio ya shoot, after kufanya audio tukaamua tujibrand sio wenyewe, tukangana, then tukaamua kufanya video.
Producer, hii si kitu rahisi kufanya. Just listening to what Felix anasema, I mean, clearly looks like a lot went into this. And also, you know, you'll be telling us if at all kuna in different places where you're going in terms of championing for peace, ama tu ni pale as long as you release the song and that's it. But talk to us also about how the budgeting went to this, because again, we'll play this video. Na Wakenya wataona, by the way, iko kwa kitu rahisi kufanya. I mean, the work that has gone here just to ensure that the message is out there. Talk to us about the process, the budgeting, how all this went into mpaka tukona sasa the final product.
Okay, mimi ni producer, but as an artist, venye nilikuja kuwa producer, nilikuwa natafuta kitu something inaweza kuwa na impact pia, not all about peace, but sit na kuanga is like a group pia, inaitwa Generation Good Forever.
You were actually a group, eh?
Yeah.
Okay.
GGF. So tunafanya awareness za drugs, tunafanya the charity events pia. So this time nika feel because ni time ya election, hatuwezi fanyia ati politician song, hiyo ni one side. But wacha tufanya awareness about peace. So niko na wasanii ni wengi, but time yenyewe unawakili na artist ama ukiwa kwa group unaweza jua nani anaweza fanya hii na so the first person to call alikuwa my friend ni Felix. Ndio nilimcall nikamwambia ni aje niko na hii idea hivi na hivi, akakuja. So tuka create idea, sketch, tukaita the other artist tukafanya. So tukapanga okay, for me nilikuwa nataka tufanye audio kwa sababu tulikuwa na siku kidogo sana. But yeye akaniambia hapana, tunaweza combine tufanye hadi video. So yeye ufanya kwa film brand, huwa ina shoot ma videos. So akaniambia wacha tu record the audio, then sasa tutafute venye tunaweza shoot. That's why tulikama up na idea. Okay, hizi kuwa rahisi kwa sababu pia unajua mkiwa group kuna wale lazima msumbuane kidogo, but vizuri kila mtu alikuwa anaipata in a positive way. So ilikuwa so rahisi sana ku coordinate between us.
So unasema that also in this group you are also out there just creating awareness. We mentioned substance abuse. I know pia matters group end violence in a feature pale. Talk to us about the kind of awareness you do and which areas do you really take?
Okay, we do most drug kwa sababu mimi nimelelewa sana side za Gashie. Kwa side ya Kiambu. So nimegrow nikiona my youth. Most my youth wanakuja wanapotea drugs, ama mtu alikuwa na talent but ameingia kwa drugs anakuja anapotea hivyo. So nikigrow nilikuwa na one day one time nikifika level yenye ninaweza kukuwa na create hizi my events, mimi kufanya ma open air hizi. Naweza fanya open air, tunatafuta wase, kuna maboys wenye walikuwa wanafanya drugs, so tunawa approach as a group pia. Tunawaambia hivi na hivi, kama wanapenda entertainment. Unajua mtu sometimes anaingianga kwa hizi mambo za drugs not because anataka, ni kwa sababu anakuja sometimes ako idol, maybe ana job na nini. But if mnafanya something yenye kama mnaenda the charity event, ako busy, unapata ana hiyo time ya drugs. So kuna wengi sana ukimit kama GGF group, wengi watakwambia mimi ndiko addicted sana na hii, mimi ndiko addicted na hii. So I think not all about us, but najuanga God ndiye amepitia tu kwa that vision. ndio inasaidia, but mostly tunafanya hizo ma open airs, tunafanya Gashie, tunaenda Rwaka, tunafanya Roysambu, yani tunazunguka tu penye tumefeel tunaweza. So ile finance yenyewe tuko nayo kidogo, kama inaweza tufikisha place huko tutaenda. Yeah, but sasa kwa sababu hatujagrow sana, hatujaenda so many places, but God akifungua tutajaribu kucover Nairobi, ndio tujaribu kwenda nje ya Nairobi sasa. Yeah.
So ideally kuna plans to expand boards.
Yeah.
Well said. Now, I mean, Felix, just borrowing also from what Harry is saying in terms of akiongelea, particularly when it comes to substance abuse, the young people oftentimes wako vulnerable, wengi pia wako pale idle. Ukiangalia the 2019 census, which was released in 2020, the report indicates that 5.3 million, Kenyans youth bado wako jobless out of the possible 13.7. Na sasa wakati wa election tunasema tena again, these young people are still vulnerable. A lot of these issues there, it's tied down to matters of employment, unemployment. Mtazamo wako ni upi?
Kitu naweza sema ama kwambia youth enyewe, unajua hakuna politician atakuja kupay job ama akupay food. What you do venye
washa promise
but hata unajua mtu anaweza kupromise lakini hata fulfill. Unajua mwanadamu si Mungu, unaona. What you are supposed to do, hii drug hii kitu inafanya ati wewe unakuwa na offset mind. Drug mbona uendelee kutumia? Acha na drug, try ku hustle, fanya anything yenye inaweza keep busy, unaona. So politician akikwambia nitakuletea food ama nitachimba nini, nitafanya nini, hiyo yani ni kitu ya maybe vision 2030. Yeah, so kitu mimi naweza advise my youth, anything that you are doing, stay focused, fanya kazi ya mkono yako. Hata watu wanafanya mjengo na bado wanaishi vizuri, unaona. So just hustle na ufanye UTBD yani. Usije contradict na maana politician asikudanganya hata atakufanyia kitu fulani. Just work on your own, kila kitu kitakuwa poa.
But wanasema kazi tumetafuta na hatupati. So the only thing imebaki ni nikipatwa hii 200 100, that's what I'll use, because at the end of the day people will still say, not that I'm propagating for that, because I mean I'm totally against it, but then atakwambia nitaenda kukula nini, kazi nimetafuta nimekosa. So is there really a solution for this? You know why I ask that is because every particularly election period, youths huwa miss kwa wale wenye either they are propagating violence. At least we have those that are really out here championing for peace like you are doing. But when you look at even the category of those that are really propagating violence, majority ni young people.
But kitu naweza sema, najua mtafutaji achoki. Niko 100% sure ukiamka asubuhi one week ukitafuta utakosa one way. Au utakosa mtu mmoja. Ukililia watu kama 5 ama 10, kuna mtu mmoja ataku understand. Pia wajua Mungu hata ana intervene, unaona. Kama Mungu tu mbele na kila kitu kitakuwa. Yani try, amka asubuhi, nenda ungangane, uliza. Unajua ukiuliza hapo, kutoka hapo mtu atakupea hope. Unajua kuna time unaweza tembea umetembea una feel umechoka, unajua ile time una feel umefika mwisho, hapo ndio God anaanza kufunga njia zake, unaona. So just keep on pressing, tafuta, useme ati hakuna kitu inaweza, hapana. Ukichoka juu umepata. I'm 100% sure hata kama youth anasema watumika tukufanya ni ile tu msana kuanga ako misleaded na kitu fulani yenye hizo ma drugs, but stay to focus, utafute mazee. Sioni kama inaweza kuwa ile that difficult. God mimi nakuangania imani God will provide.
So it still runs down to drugs, substance abuse. Naona hata Harry ana agree, it still runs down to drugs.
I think mnaweza add hapo kitu mimi naweza jua. Obviously lazima pia uandikwe. Najua ukikuwa na ile mind lazima niandikwe, hiyo ndio inapoteza pia. Kuna so many things unaweza fanya. Not lazima uwe na much capital ndio maybe uanze something ya kufanya. Kuna majob hata watu wanaona like maybe for example wanauza kwa group, tuko na wase hata pia wanauza hizi mayai na nini. Si expensive.
So hawajakaa tu ati ni muziki peke yake ama ni art peke yake.
Lazima tutafute, unajua hata kama ni muziki inataka pesa na pia tunataka kustay na nini. So lazima tuko na something pia yenye itafanya pia msakisha toka kwa drugs au utatembea tu na yeye na anarudi analala. So lazima kuna something yenye itamkeep. So ukiangalia like kuna business hata ukiona 2000 utaanza ile kidogo, bora tu jioni ikifika unapata 50 kidogo yenye inaingia kwa mfuko important, but sasa ukikuwa na ile mind lazima niandikwe, naona saa hii jobs haziko mob. So ni poa sana na venye tumekuwa kwa corona imefunza watu wengi sana. So like, sometimes ukiwa youth una think sana, like think too about hapo pia. Yeah.
So unasema there's actually more that young people can do ndo wasitumike vibaya vile ambavyo wanatumika, particularly wakati wa elections wa masaa kama saa hizi, that they need to think outside the box. So kuna kitu umesema that si lazima mtu akae kwa job ya kuandikwa. So in your perspective, do you think that it's actually a mind issue? As in, most of this, because I mean, actually, but this convo will revolve around, young people, because like we said, they're the most vulnerable in this election period, and you're here championing for peace. So do you think it's a mind issue that most young people have, that mimi kama nimeenda kampo, nimeenda shule na sijaandikwa, then I'll just wait, and then while you're waiting, unakuwa inducted to some of these things that we keep talking about here?
Yeah, of course. Wacha ni put in this way. Wacha nirudi kwa artist kidogo. Artist ni ule mtu mwenye maybe jini kishasonga kidogo, kuna vitu ana feel nikifanya mtawa atasema manze. The same to people.
Siwezi fanya business.
Watu wataniona hapo, unajua mimi nimeunda brand na nini, unaelewa. But sasa unajua brand without money si brand, unaelewa. So kitu inakuanga like the same watu wameenda pia campus. Wengine wanakuanga na, kuna wale wanajituma wa mind, wanajuanga day yao itafika. But kuna wale wenye wanasema nimeingia campus, watu watanionaje. But sasa huwezi kaa hapo kwa sababu miaka pia inasonga, unaelewa. So but ukifanya kitu itakusaidia a step, kwa sababu ni kama ukiingia kwa gospel part. Uwezi tuambia Mungu like bless me una get na umekaa. Lazima God akupate ukiwa ina relay, yani yenye uko in that process ya kutafuta kitu, ndio a bless. Akikupata kama usha give up, akikubless utajua, utakuwa unasema connection inasaidia. Kumbe uliomba time fulani ukaenda astray, amekubless, una feel ni connection. But akikupatia ukiwa still in that relay ya kuomba, utajua maombi nimeomba ndio imehappen. So the same pia ni hivyo tu venye sasa youth wako. Kuna wale wana feel mimi nataka youth anataka aendeshe Range Rover na hata hakuna step anafanya yenye itampatia.
So politician akikuja aseme hata achukueni 50,000 yako very fast kuchukua.
Kwa sababu anaona ni haraka.
Okay, well said. So again, let me come to you, Felix. Then do you think politicians are also to blame? You know why? Is because just juzi, the interior CS said that ukiangalia the 200s and 100s are missing. Na wanasema ati wanasiasa wamechukua hizi pesa wanapeleka pale kwa campaign, wanapatia vijana. The other day IBC had actually capped the amount that politicians need to be spending on the campaign trail, but that was shut down by MPs in the National Assembly. So then it gave them a lifeline. Use whatever you want to use. Kama ni mabilioni, just use it. So then again, it also makes young people kuwa vulnerable, as you're saying. Akikuja kupatia kama 50,000 ni quick money, hujafanyia kazi, unachukua very fast. Are they also to blame, politicians? Ama as a young person wewe pia uko na msimamo wa kusema mimi sitachukua? Which way does it go?
Wajua kwanza politician kitu wanafanya, wanaendanga zile place zenye wanajua watu wenye wako pale most hustlers. So anaona akikupa do, wajua mtu akipata pesa ushamcontrol. So tunaweza blame in another way around, ama pia tusiwa blame, but unaona once mimi ukinipa do, tuseme niko chini sina form, yani na umenipea pesa unaambia nataka unifanyie kitu fulani, mimi najua sina anything, unajua na nimepatiwa 50,000, obvious mazenta nitafanya kitu nataka.
So utachukua weka wewe tuseme ukuje umepatiwa, utachukua?
Kama mimi
utachukua wewe?
Mimi na mimi okay mimi mse napenda kuwako my own, unaona. Kwani unajua ukipata pesa na haraka ama pesa nyonja hujawakia siku zote wataizikaa, unajua. But unajua ukijua kumanage 100 bob utamanage milioni juu, utakuna steps umekuwa kaenda nayo. Lakini mimi ukinipa 50k sahi, kama nilikuwa labda naokoa yangu ya 1,000 nalipa kwanza. Nilikuwa na shida fulani, so mimi naweza sema politician hata kugawa do mimi siwezi ona kama ni solution sana ati utapata kura ama nini. Hiyo omba tu kura in a peaceful way at least my youth. Unajua ukipea youth, ukiambia youth mimi naomba kura yako, sina kitu but nikifika pale tutasaidiana. Unajua politician anaweza kukumbuka, but politician akikuja hapa akupe 50k amebuy vote yako, huyu akienda anaenda kulipa hiyo do. So there's no way.
So wanasiasa waende tu waombe kura polepole.
Wakuje tu waombe kura, tutawapea wauze sera vizuri.
Wauze sera vizuri.
Yeah,
cha muhimu ni sera.
They
are saying that this election is now has become an issue based. Watu wana focus on the issues as opposed to ethnic as it were. But let me come to you, Harry, even as you wind down this conversation, still on the same point. Wanasiasa wako to blame. Ama we can still say, as a young person, the politician X can come and give you, is it 1,000, 500 bob, 100 bob, na useme mimi kama kijana sitachukua, nimekataa tu.
Okay, for me naweza sema hivi, like politician akikuja hapa na get anipatie do, mimi siwezi kudanganya nitachukua, but unajua siku ya voting nitachukua kwa sababu ashanipatia. Nitachukua kwa sababu kitu ya kwanza ni si ashanipatia na amekuja yeye mwenyewe kunipatia, but day ya kuvote sasa lazima nisikie pia sera za watu wote. So pesa zimekuja, but not kwa sababu nimechukua hizo pesa nitamvotia, kwa sababu sasa hapo ni kukua mwise. Lazima wasikize, usichukue tu kwa sababu nimechukua pesa, hiyo ni mzuri. Chukua, msikize huyo mwingine, ana msikize. Day ya kuvote sasa ni wewe mwenyewe, kwa sababu kwa ballot tunakuanga peke yako. Na hilo hawezi kuja na hizo 50, hata ukikatasi ataenda nazo. So ni kukua tu mwise time yenye una vote. Place important sana ni time una vote. Ni kukua mwise. Na penye una vote na penye manifesto ya mtu venye alisema. Hiyo ndio unawako. But hizi pesa kwenda kufightia hizo pesa ndio vibaya. But kama amekuletea, so chukua ndo jijenge nazo baada ya kuvote kwa wise. Zile pesa zisikuchanganye pia.
You know why I was asking about that money issues, because venye tu umeisema wakati wanakuja na hizi pesa wale ambao huwa wanapeana, we always see violence. Watu wanapigananga pale wanataka kuchukua pesa ya mwanasiasa. Wengine they even end up killing each other, injuring each other. So ni muhimu tujue it lies squarely with who the responsibility. Wewe ukipata utachukua ama wanasiasa tu kuja uze sera na tumalizie hapo.
If it's all about fighting for kufightia pesa,
because we witnessed that. We have, haven't we?
Mwanasiasa hizi kuja mahali uko peke yako, kitu kwanza anataka mahali kuna crowd.
Unajua sometimes the politicians wanafanyanga like maybe wanajua my youth wako place, we can meet, tuongee na nini, mnataka nini, nimewaletea pesa, ninaweza nini. Unaona, for example like my hiyo group yetu ni GGF, politician amesema na to meet, wacha niwapatia 100,000 naelewa, but naomba mnivotie, tutamsikiza. But hizo 100 tutachukua kwa sababu by the end of the day tunataka mapie system za kufanyia awareness zetu, so tutazichukua. But pia sisi tukibaki, that's why nimesema ni about time yenye una vote, kukua tu mwise. Tutamsikiza, atupatie hizo pesa zake, tuone hizo manifesto yake iweze. But kwa sahizi pesa tunataka the pia ya kufanya awareness tuko nayo. So they tutavote, hata kuja sema ulinipigia kura kweli, hata jua. But by the end of the day, see ati tutoke kama mayouth tunaenda for pesa, like tunaanza kufight, you see right.
Well said. And mwisho siku what you're saying is that ni muhimu, as you're saying, vote wisely, use wisdom and keep peace alive. Sindio? We can all agree on that. And a good place to end this conversation. Asanteni sana for coming and just talking to us about the initiative that you're doing out there, particularly also for the young people, which is a very good initiative.
Thank you.
Good job. I have been speaking to Felix Ayoga to my immediate right, as well as Harry Obonyo, who are both gospel artists, but just given the kind of environment we are in as a country, they have been out there championing for peace and ensuring we vote in a very peaceful environment, particularly as young people. Good place to end this conversation, but Good Morning Kenya still continues after this break.
Communications Authority of Kenya, CA, regulates the broadcasting industry, promoting development of local content and ensuring responsible use of broadcasting platforms for national good, to give you and your family choice with a variety of content to enjoy.
Money talks. You took me to the cleaners. My house now belongs to the bank. My business, kaput.
The booze won't make you any better.
Lower the helm, or better still, lose the mini.
Say I'm pathetic, but you're the pathetic one. Firing me because my brother dumped you for a better woman?
The Communications Authority of Kenya, opening your world.
Kwa miaka 11, Minto FM imekuwa pamoja nanyi, ikiwapa burudani na kuwaelimisha. Na sasa tunawaalika mashabiki wetu tujumuike pamoja kwa tamasha la Minto Night. Tarehe 6 mwezi Agosti tutakuwa na Minto Night huko Winspark Resort Kisii. Wanamuziki kama vile Kwasa, Embarambamba na wengine watakuwa site kuwaburudisha. Siku ya Jumapili tarehe 7 Agosti, Minto FM itaandaa maombi ya shukrani na kuombea uchaguzi wa amani katika uwanja wa Electoral Primary School kuanzia saa 3 asubuhi. Waimbaji wa nyimbo za dini wakiwemo Evangelist Eric Mwaniki, Molly Kemunto na wengineo watakuwemo. Nyote mwalikwa.
Minto FM Enyakaruga Yumugusi.
Mimi niko digital sasa. Nimepiga simu nikauza ng'ombe, sasa naweza lipia mtoto karo ya shule. Huyu sasa shule anasoma kompyuta. Na kama mtoto akigonjeka, napigia daktari simu. Huko hospitali nasaidika haraka.
Through the Universal Service Fund, USF, the Communications Authority of Kenya, CA, facilitates the provision of diverse communication services to every part of the country so that no one is left behind. The Communications Authority of Kenya, opening your world.
The 2022 Commonwealth Games will be hosted in Birmingham, United Kingdom from the 28th of July through the 8th of August 2022. Team Kenya is set to make its 17th appearance at the Games. Kenya will contest for medals in several disciplines, among them athletics, boxing, hockey, rugby, weightlifting, wheelchair basketball and parasports, among others. Watch the Games live on KBC Channel 1. KBC Channel 1.
Mimi niko digital sasa.
Solidarity to our nation. Tuzidi kwa maombi, tuombe nchi yetu Kenya. Zidisha maombi, upendo, tupende nchi yetu Kenya.
Nataka tuanze kama anthem, wengine waiweke kama ringtone. My youth, tunataka peace, amani, upendo, wa Kenya tupendane.
Fight for the peace, nyeupe ya amani. Mbona tukose amani? Love for the people, nyeusi ya watu. Mbona tukose upendo?
Jana tusimame, tuijenge nchi yetu Kenya. Na amani tutangaze, tuachane ukabila ubinafsi.
Wabariki watimize
ndoa zao, na kibali katika kazi zao. Hey, we need peace, love and solidarity to our nation. We need peace, love and solidarity to our nation. Yeah.
Tuzidi kwa maombi, tuombe nchi yetu Kenya. Zidisha maombi, upendo, tupende nchi yetu Kenya.
Mama don't cry, daddy don't cry, my youth tunataka amani. Nasema no crime, no, we say no fight, no. Pamoja tueneze umoja, tusimame imara, tusipotoshwe na ukabila. Tusamehane, tuinuane, tujengane kwa umoja.
Upendo, amani, dongao, tushikane. Upendo, amani, donguzo, tuungane.
We need peace, love and solidarity to our nation. We need peace, love and solidarity to our nation. Yeah.
Tuzidi kwa maombi, tuombe nchi yetu Kenya. Zidisha maombi, upendo, tupende nchi yetu Kenya.
Kenya Worship Center, Kenya God Nation. As a black man represent number one color. Pili ya amani, tatu ni nyekundu. Tusonge hapo chini, kijani kibichi.
Vita za nini? Visa za nini? Wakati mimi na wewe ni ndugu. Vita za nini? Visa za nini? Wakati mimi na wewe ni ndugu.
Kwa upendo na umoja iwe ndiyo ngao yetu. Kwenye chuki, ukabila na uovu tukomeshe. Kwa amani tusimame na Kenya tusonge mbele. Haki itendeke na tuishi kama mandugu.
Acha tushikane, tusizikane. Tuwe pamoja, kitu kimoja, tusikwazane.
We need peace, love and solidarity to our nation. We need peace, love and solidarity to our nation. Yeah.
Tuzidi kwa maombi, tuombe nchi yetu Kenya. Zidisha maombi, upendo, tupende nchi yetu Kenya. Tuzidi kwa maombi, tuombe nchi yetu Kenya. Zidisha maombi, upendo, tupende nchi yetu Kenya.
Siasa zitutenganishe. Kenya ni nchi ya upendo, tusikubali wale watutenganishe. Kenya yetu
ng'ang'ana tujenge Kenya, nchi yetu inayopendeza, furaha iliyoje watu wakikaa pamoja, tena kwa umoja na kupendana. Mungu akamwambia Musa, enda uokoe taifa langu, watoe watu wangu mikononi mwa Farao. Bwana natumana katika nchi yetu, lazima tupate ushindi. Haleluya. Wewe ni Mkenya tena ni mzalendo, usikubali kupiganishwa na ndugu yako. Mambo ya siasa ya usiweke moyoni, muombe Mungu tu na tuwe salama. Usikubali kupigana na mwenzako. Ndugu dada, tengeneza njia zako. Yeye ni Mungu, ataikumbuka Kenya. Kenya yetu, nchi ya amani. Amkeni ndugu zetu, na tufanye sote bidii, nasi tujitoe kwa nguvu, nchi yetu ya Kenya iwe amani tunayoipenda. Tuwe tayari kuilinda. Kenya ni nchi ya amani, tusikubali siasa zitutenganishe. Kenya ni nchi ya upendo, tusikubali wale watutenganishe. Kenya yetu ni nchi ya furaha, tusikubali vita vitutenganishe. Kenya ni nchi ya upendo, ukabila isiwe lugha yetu.
City Sounds Production.
Nilifurahi waliponiambia tuende nyumbani mwa Bwana. Nilifurahi waliponiambia tuende nyumbani mwa Bwana. Tuende nyumbani mwa Bwana. Nyumbani mwa Bwana. Tuende nyumbani mwa Bwana. Nyumbani mwa Bwana. Nilipiga shangwe na nderemo waliponiambia baraka tuende nyumbani mwa Bwana. Nilipiga shangwe na nderemo waliponambia baraka tuende nyumbani mwa Bwana. Huko kwa baba yangu kuna uzima, matunda ya wokovu tutachuna, neema na baraka zitufuate sisi. Huko kwa baba yangu kuna uzima, matunda ya wokovu tutachuna, neema na baraka zitufuate sisi. Nyumbani 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 mwa Bwana, nyumbani 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 mwa Bwana, nyumbani 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 mwa Bwana. Nyumbani mwa Bwana. Furahi waliponiambia tuende nyumbani mwa Bwana. Furahi waliponiambia tuende nyumbani mwa Bwana. Tuende nyumbani mwa Bwana. Nyumbani mwa Bwana. Tuende nyumbani mwa Bwana. jana huko. Nyumbani, nyumbani, nyumbani mwa Bwana. Nyumbani, nyumbani, nyumbani mwa Bwana. Nyumbani, nyumbani, nyumbani mwa Bwana. Nilifurahi waliponiambia twende nyumbani mwa Bwana. Nilifurahi waliponiambia twende nyumbani mwa Bwana. Twende nyumbani mwa Bwana. Nyumbani mwa Bwana. Twende nyumbani mwa Bwana. Nyumbani mwa Bwana. Nyumbani mwa Bwana. Nyumbani mwa Bwana.
Bwana, nimekuja mbele zako, nimeleta sifa na shukrani tele. Usifiwe Mwokozi wangu, usifiwe milele. Nimekuja mbele zako na sifa tele moyoni, Baba. Kuishi kwangu Baba, umekuwa Mungu wa agano kwangu, mimi sina shaka na yale umesema. Ikiwa nawe yote ni salama kwangu, Baba nashukuru, pokea sifa. Katika giza na hofu na kwenye matope niliteleza, kwa macho yako ukanitazama, kwa mkono wako ukaniokota. Walamu nayo elekelinga yeah.
continue to keep on living like this.
We made it, sweetie. Now Gonzalo will never find his money again. Never.
Lionel can't do that to you. No, he can't leave with the money that is mine and my sons to inherit. No.
I want to be with you and with our children. Because for me, Mao will be like my son.
That's why I'm backing her up with this marriage, and I am more than happy to do it. You do understand what I'm saying, right?
Only have to find a way. And what could be better than to take away what you love the most?
The 2022 Commonwealth Games will be hosted in Birmingham, United Kingdom from the 28th of July through the 8th of August 2022. Team Kenya is set to make its 17th appearance at the Games. Kenya will contest for medals in several disciplines, among them athletics, boxing, hockey, rugby, weightlifting, wheelchair basketball and parasports, among others. Watch the Games live on KBC Channel 1. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
All right, exactly 4 days to the polls. We are literally at the home stretch of this elections, and there's a lot of conversations out here, particularly when it comes to just trying to ensure that we maintain peace now, during, and even after the election. This is what you're set to interrogate with my guests this morning, who are actually in their own defined research as much as they carry, heavy other titles underneath their names, but just trying to interrogate where we are as a country in terms of preparedness and moving forward. How can we maintain peace in this elections? I'm joined by Professor Kithinji Kinywa to my extreme right, who is a lecturer at Sophia University in Tokyo, Japan, as well as just a lecturer of matters to do with politics and culture in the same university. Right next to him, which is to my immediate right, that is Dr. John Mwangi, who is a senior researcher at Glosseps. Gentlemen, karibu sana to the program.
Thank you.
Before we delve deeper into the issues, let's just start from that research bit, because ideally you play a big role when it comes to matters research, and we know that yesterday, being the 3rd of August, was actually the last day for pollsters to either conduct or release polls. That is within our laws, and there's a lot of conversations out here, particularly in respect to how these polls are conducted, the sample size they use, the believability of the polls at the end of the day. I mean, we have had instances, not just in Kenya, but even beyond, whereby what is on the polls might not negate what exactly turns out to election. So that again bridges the gap of believability. Let me start with you, Daktari. What do you make of this, just given from a research perspective?
First of all, thank you, and thanks for that perspective. I think opinion polls, if they're conducted scientifically, in the sense that there's a particular sampling frame that is adopted, a representative sort of sample, because you cannot sample everybody for logistical and other concerns. Yes. But they do give, if they're conducted in the proper scientific way, they do give a sense of what is to be expected. yes, we might talk about who was polled and how the process was polled. But I believe if the process, you have a clear sampling frame, you have articulated the key issues, and then of course you have thought about the demographics, who are you polling, is it representative, and so on. So it's possible that you can get to a closer approximation of the perspectives or the perceptions of a population at a particular time. But also bearing in mind that different dynamics also change. If you're conducting a poll very close, there might be other dynamics. Issues are shifting, and so on. But I would say if the process is conducted, in that proper manner, it's very much possible to come to a closer approximation. Of course, we have to be clear that opinion polls also have a margin of error.
Yes, +1, -1.
Plus or minus 1. And then also interesting, if you've seen all these polls, there's something around the category that is, it's called the undecided.
Yes.
So you might be polling 40% or 45%, but there's also a category that has not sort of properly made up their mind. So all those are sort of factors that need to count when we are evaluating these polls. Thank you.
Well said. I mean, and you just talked about the undecided, and let me come to you, Prof, because just again looking by what InfoTrack released yesterday, putting the candidates of whichever percentage they have gotten therein, according to that particular poll, we still have undecided of 6%, and according to what they say, that this has the ability to tilt the vote whichever way it might go at the end of the day. But just again, going back to what you're talking about, we have had instances, even just the candidates themselves saying that the polls do not really quite reflect what is there. Some even saying that they are doctored, some they're saying that they've been paid to actually deliver some of these polls. And we know they are critical because also they shock the decision in which the country is headed, and we also know where we stand, particularly in terms of elections altogether and preparedness. You have come to this country as a researcher as well. What do you make of all of this?
First of all, thank you for having me on the show. I'm delighted to be here. I think we should begin from the fact that politicians have the ability to influence, make us believe certain things are true, and those things might not be true. And one of the things we see with the political class is them wanting us to believe that science can also be politicized, which is also true. But I think how to look at opinion polls, first of all, should be that this is a scientific process and we respect science. So even before we talk about whether it's politicized or working for a certain politician or a certain political arrangements, we should be able to convince people that opinion polls is a scientific exercise, and we should be able to rely on science to inform our decisions. The reason why we have opinion polls is because, people went out there conducting research. So people who do research like myself, I need to convince people that, research is a credible process. And, research has brought us a lot of solutions. So that's where we should begin from. But also we should go to the second question, which is, so what can politicians do with science? Which is the question about the same dimension of what can politicians do with tribes? What can politicians do with the region? We have seen that in these elections also. What can a politician do with economic status of the people? So I think to me the problem is not the polls themselves, but it's the believability on this, the process. And I want to convince people that you should trust science.
I mean, we keep saying you should trust these institutions, you just can't keep doubting at the end of the day. But still, again, on that research bit, before we get to even the peace aspect, but still on that research bit, and I want to bring you on this one, Daktari. We are over 50 million in this country in terms of population. Just the other time, I think it was Mizani, if I'm not wrong, who had a sample size of 2,000. Yesterday, Infotrack on their poll said that they used a sample size of 6,000, just for the better understanding of Kenyans, because again, we also know fully well we cannot use the 53 or the 50 plus million Kenyans that we are. So there's definitely have to be a sample size that has to be used. But what informs this? Again, to just ensure that Kenyans really understand that we need to believe this polls when they come, or we need to trust in these institutions at the end of the day.
Well, thanks for that. I want to believe that in the science of opinion polling, again, I'll go back to the question of representativeness. When you have, a population of about, we only here thinking about the number of registered voters ideally, even though the population will be about 52 million or so. By scientific standards, anything above 2,000 is a fair representation of a population like that. And then, of course, you have to break it down. And I think I've followed some of the debates on opinion polls. So they also break them by demographics, by age, by region. Sometimes they might also push, some bit of, education. They may also have a bit of, issues that are affecting the poll. So I think, and I think there was a commentary I saw a few days back that did not actually also show a very significant difference in terms of results, whether you had 2,000 or 6,000 people polling. The margin of difference was very minimal. But coming back to the perspective you raise, and I'm not too familiar with the scientific process that I think the one that you mentioned, but it's, I would say there's a sense in which we also have to be careful about how we read opinion polls. And I think when they release the opinion polls, they of course would disclose, for instance, the period in which they conducted them, how they conducted them. Was it by a telephone survey, which is acceptable? Was it by a questionnaire? And as with all scientific processes, even though my colleague here is mentioning that, we need to trust science, what is important is the credibility of that process. Of course, besides how different actors might want to frame the issue, because I think we've also seen across the board that people interpret opinion polls on the basis of how they seem to be favoring them. If they're favoring their side,
it's a good poll.
It's a good poll. But I think here, as researchers, as social scientists, I believe we should think about how did you arrive at that decision, but also appreciate that individuals in a social science context also carry with them certain biases, and because of that, that's why we need to think about multiple other sources. And I'm glad all these opinion polls, the opinion polling companies and organizations have been conducting, different polls. And so we can see a bit of, there's not of a big variance per se. And if you follow the trends, you could see, of course, some candidates have been either going up or down over time. And also given the different dynamics. I think around, for instance, around May, before the coalitions had announced their running mates, the polls were a little different. But when, the running candidates, the running mates of these, coalitions are announced, so again, a few dynamics have kept shaping, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you can agree that, various issues tilt the, opinions in a different way, depending.
Yes.
Okay. As an observer, Prof, when you look at this year's election, the 2022 election, and again, contrast it to the previous one, how would you rate the level of calmness, preparedness?
Thank you for that. Before I go to that, I wanted to echo some of the things he has said.
Okay.
That, the process is important, as he has said here, because this is not, this is a social sciences category, and people must also be kind of, attentive to the fact that unlike you're not going to a laboratory to test, things. This is not quantitative per se. Most of it should be qualitative. So the things coming into place are different factors. And so when you judge the outcome of the polling also, you should have that in mind, that this is, yes, the category of social sciences. It might be a little bit different from what we may have in quantitative analysis. So the qualitative is an important aspect. Now, preparedness. I think I am optimistic about this year's election for many reasons. I have been in the field. I just came from there this morning, and unlike the other times, I see people more calm. Maybe that, I might be biased, but I think from the region that I have observed. From what I've observed, people are more calm. People are more. They don't seem to give like a life and death kind of they are not taking it as a life and death kind of a matter, which is a good thing in our political competition, because it means that people are not ready to die for politicians. And I think Kenyans are coming to that sense of, we have political competition, it's healthy, but I don't have to commit my full life to that. So I have observed that, and it's very encouraging. I have also seen some kind of I don't care attitude with especially the young people who go like, we have been doing this thing forever and it doesn't seem to have any value to us. And I think that's something that maybe people involved in political science training needs to pay attention to.
And we'll come to that. I mean, because also when you look at how this elections had been shaped, is that there was a heavy reliance on the young voter, but that didn't quite seem to be the case. Just going by the numbers and the figures that IBC presented for the young voter. We'll come to that in a bit. But talk to us about GLOSEP's Daktari and its mandate, what exactly it does.
Thank you. So, at the Global Center for Policy and Strategy, which we abbreviate as GLOSEPs, we are a leading think tank that is focused on action research, both for policy influence and strategic formulation. We do work, with different experts, policy experts, and so on, and our business, of course, is to shape public policy in different aspects. We work across 5 pillars currently. We work around security and defense. We work on foreign policy. We work on transnational organized crimes. We work on development, but also governance and ethics. And I believe this is, the point and the moment to think about the governance around elections, but also how we secure our nation. Kenya is a regional player. It's a member of the global community, and so as elections come and go, we need to remain stable and so on. So we are really in the business of engaging in policy influence and strategic formulation in pursuit of our mission, which is to engage in global peace and prosperity. And so research, action research remains one of our key pillars. And we've done some work around elections, especially thinking around how do we secure elections, how do we take best practices from different contexts, and I'm happy we're having this conversation just a few days to the polls.
Well said. I mean, just as you're explaining that, you talked about also, as a country being a regional bloc, regional basis, and just the other day we saw the president launching the MV Uhuru 2, the shipyard there in Kisumu, and we know how important that is going to be, particularly in terms of our economy and, transportation of petroleum products, oil, particularly the East African bloc. And so this is why it's important for us to keep ensuring that we keep peace at all costs. It doesn't matter the circumstance, but we keep peace at all costs. Going just by what you're saying, then in aspects of governance, policy, as being a regional base, what has been a general assessment, even as you talk about securing elections, maintaining and keeping peace? What have you come across? What have you observed?
Thank you. At GLOSEPS, of course, as we work with different partners, and also, thinking about, the general context of our region, sort of limiting myself to, elections and peace within the region.
Yeah.
I mean, there are certain, conversations we've had, there are certain, analysis and research we've done. One is, I mean, as I had alluded earlier, the question of how do we secure this? And we have come to, we recently did a piece of research that looked at how to prevent electoral violence, and we were able to isolate a few things. One of the key things, and I think Professor Kithinji here has mentioned, has to do also with one of the things we've observed as a determinant with matters electoral security, is how the Independent and Electoral Boundaries Commission conducts the whole process. So the conversations we've had, the perception surveys we've done, indicates to us that how the body conducts this process will be very important, bearing in mind, and there have been important conversations around electoral integrity, transparency, accountability, conformity to the rule of law, constitutionality, applying, the electoral processes. Because we have a history.
Yes, we do.
We have a history where we come from. And so that seems to be an important concern. But also, there's
this is from the research.
Yes, from the research we've conducted. Okay. So that is an important concern. The other observation we've made through our research is really the place of public peace messaging. Peace is a currency, and of course we can debate around the question of what peace means. But I mean, peace is sort of everything we breathe, and I mean, we need to be in a state of calm, to be in a state of social cohesion and so on. So there have been concerns, and this is also something we observed through our research, that engagement with different stakeholders, around peace, the value of peace, and we, in academic circles, in peace studies, the argument is that peace is not merely the absence of war, it's not just, that a situation is calm, but so also thinking around how do we coexist, of course, from 2007 and previous periods, in terms of our governance, there are certain, dynamics that come into place and impact on peace. For instance, we've always been talking about structural inequalities. Right now, questions around land, questions around identity, questions of, how do we access resources, how do we make our institutions strong, so that we'll be able to, because elections, as we know, are just a peaceful way to transfer power, and so in terms of the credibility, but just going back to public messaging about peace, different stakeholders, whether it's religious leaders, civil society organizations, have been very concerned, and that's something we have thought, our research has documented as important. Let me mention a third point, and maybe just come to a conclusion here. The other beat that we observed is the question of hate speech and disinformation and misinformation, particularly on our social media spaces. On political rallies, I think there's a bit of restraint now, but I think the last couple of days to the election, you might see a bit of outburst on the political space, but if you on the online space, there's a lot of disinformation.
There's no regulation there.
There is regulation,
There is?
and of course, in our research, we've made recommendations with relevant bodies such as the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, the National Cyber Crimes Committee, that's been focused on monitoring social media. Of course, so the point to be made, or the observation we made from our research, is that we need to really think more critically around how we regulate hate speech, how we promote social media restraint. We have a young demographic that perhaps is consuming news much more from Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and so on. And because we cannot properly, police those kind of spaces, I think it's important. So those are some of the observations we've made, and we're happy to discuss more as we move on this conversation. Yes. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you've presented quite good draft of issues that we need to, divulge into, as just you said, continue with this conversation. But let me pick your mind on this one too, Prof, particularly on that aspect of valuing peace. And Dr. has put it very well that, absence of wars does not negate peace, and vice versa is correct. But looking at our history and where we've come from, particularly the 2007-2008 post-election violence, we recorded above 1,000 people that lost their lives. And when you look at the children and women that were affected, that number was slightly above 500. So we've had a history. And even during campaigns, we have witnessed, some form of violence here and there. Just the recent one being what happened in Jacaranda here in Nairobi. So what exactly is our problem as a country? Because ideally, just from where we've come from, we should be doing everything to ensure that we do not experience any form of violence. But that doesn't quite seem to be the case.
That's a hard question. And I want to put it like this. I think our problem is we do not understand politics. We think that politicians are the ones who should be teaching us politics. During political competition, we bring people to tell us this candidate is going to win over these other candidates. If you look at our media today, it's obsession of which coalition is going to win. I think in my small understanding, that is a misunderstanding of politics. Politics is life. It's the whole thing together. It's how we live our lives. And I think I agree with Mzee Moi on this, that siasa mbaya, maisha mbaya. Because I think he envisioned politics as not that time of people competing over ideas, but the whole process of how do we live as a country? Which direction do we want to take as a country? I don't think we take those questions beyond what we call politicking. And that's why we have people, especially political class, preaching to us about the need to keep peace during elections. I always wonder, why should that be an issue during the election, whereas after 9th, you go back to if you're a Kikuyu, you go back to your Eluo wife, or a Kisii wife, and you're a Kamba. So why does the issue of peace become an issue during these 3 months? I think the reason is because we have allowed politicians or the political class to take over our politics, which is wrong. And that's what I'm calling a misunderstanding of what political life should be. Politicians do not, in my understanding, they do not understand what politics is. And that's why they focus on this small aspect of competing for votes. Then we focus on, are you in camp A or camp B? If we take the conversation about our politics in our universities, then we come to realize that, yeah, actually, political life is more diverse, more deep than what we interpret it to be in most cases. But I also and that our problem beyond misunderstanding of politics is that we do not seem to emphasize on the need to the role that social sciences play in our lives. I think our country is becoming possessed with telling our young people that we have to get skills when we go to school. So when we take people to study in our universities, we are telling them that history is not important. It's not going to give you a job. We are telling them anthropology is not going to help you in any way because, you know, look at these fellas. They graduated with these social sciences, and what do they have? And what you get out of that is people that do not understand politics. People that need to be reminded to keep peace during the remaining 5 days. And that's where my worry is. Why should you be reminded to keep peace in the following 5 days, and you've been keeping peace for the last 4 years? You've been living with your neighbor. Why should you be reminded that you shouldn't kill your neighbor? If you're being reminded that you shouldn't kill your neighbor, it means that, and you went to school, it meant that your school, your education was not complete. So I know we are talking about, you know, the values of skills and making sure that we graduate students who are able to fit in the job market. But again, to me, that's a misunderstanding of what education should do. Education should be able to prepare a person to go out there and live life in its fullness, which is, you may get a job, and fortunately, and you become prosperous because of that. You might not get a job because things are hard, but you live a wholesome life. You live a life with fulfillment. Understanding how to interpret when a politician says whatever he says. And it means you also don't follow, you know, when politicians just throw out ones there. So the reason why you have politicians throwing ones out there, it's also because this problem begins with our education. You know, we are not looking at, if it's politics as an example, we are not telling our students what exactly is politics. You know, we are possessed with coalition A as numbers. Coalition B is not going to win. You know, that's kind of a conversation, which is a very minor.
It's a skewed way of thinking.
Yeah.
So basically what you're saying is that it still runs down and goes back to basics, something that we miss. And you've given a very good example that if you've been keeping peace in 4 years, so what is the big deal about continuing to do that in the next 2 or 3 days? And talking about that aspect, you had also touched a bit on the hate speech, and you also touched a bit on that Daktari, and looking at also what NCAC had recommended just 5 days ago was to lock down Facebook. We also had that particular story in the dailies today, but the ministry, ICT, said that we are a free state, we cannot be able to do that. But again, you talk also about social media, and there may be regulation, but we cannot quite police what goes into that space. So how does this recommendation sit with you, much as the ministry contravened it, but how does it sit with you? Would it have been a good form of recommendation, particularly during this time of election where we know that there's a lot of information going out there?
Thank you. The question of social media regulation is a tricky question across the board. Definitely, I believe the position not to, ban social media spaces.
So you agree with the ministry?
I would support that perspective because it also sits with, with our constitution,
yes,
our freedom of expression. But of course, we also have to be cognizant of the view that, where your rights begin is also mine end in some way. I mean, the question of accountability of how we use these platforms. And this also goes back to the point raised by my panelist here, our social values and skill sets and so on. Sometimes is, just speaking to this question of, social media misuse, for lack of a better word. And at Glossops, actually, we've really engaged with this question, thinking about how do you, how do you think around social media, disinformation across, the whole board. And it's not, of course, a Kenyan phenomenon. We saw that in the US elections, right? And the challenge a bit also with social media regulation, I think people, of course, need to have liberty, to express themselves.
Yeah.
The challenge, I believe, comes with regulation. I mean, we are dealing with artificial intelligence. We are dealing with automatic bots, you know, in this space. So these are not humans, but they, I mean, of course, behind them are human beings engaging in this. So I think the point is, yes, regulation is important, the law is important, but at GLOSSAP we also think that careful awareness about especially the ills, you know, the side effects of it, right? And some people actually engage in this social media sort of misuse on the basis of misinformation. They're not fully aware that maybe, say, someone is sending you something on a WhatsApp group.
Case in point, the video we've been seeing around.
Yes. So someone is sending you something, and what do? Quickly, you just send it to your next WhatsApp group, or you post it on your Twitter handle, and that is also what creates. And then also this and my panelist here has mentioned why perhaps we don't need to talk about peace all the time. If we talk about social values and so on, someone will first have restraint, right? And that also explains the fact that, and we've also made similar recommendations that, you know, media houses are also very important actors in this space, but also now we have a good number of fact-checking organizations. So opening that wide analysis, and at GLOSSAP we sort of, you know, engaged in these conversations in webinars in the past. I think a year ago we had a webinar that we're just looking at social media, disinformation, because we think it's sort of, I mean, it's an important question to think about. So fact-checking organizations, creating awareness that information you post out there can be detrimental, you know, to the general well-being, and you know, at this time, it's not that I think we are over-obsessed with elections, but also going beyond this over-obsession, awareness, and I mean different bodies, if it is the Communications Authority of Kenya, if it is the Ministry of ICT, the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, they have, you know, engaged with all these questions. But I think it all comes down to, because there are things really you cannot police. Public awareness, let's have conversations around disinformation, you know, the deliberate, of course, the deliberate manipulation of information. Regulation is important, but let's create awareness so that, you know, if you see a video, don't be quick to post it. Try and first verify it. And I think media organizations have a role to play in creating that literacy and awareness, yes. Thank you.
Well said. And as we wind down, Prof, I'll give you the last word. What would be your call to action? Because, I mean, we would keep talking about this and we keep having this conversation. We have a lot to exhaust, I mean, at the end of the day, because yes, we agree that our social values might be the challenge, but we are here now. And this is what we keep talking about. We need to keep maintaining peace. So what would be a call to action?
I agree with you. We're here. So, and, you know, talking about we need to pay attention to our social, you know, value system. It's a tall order. But before I go to my comment, let me
very quickly
talk about the idea of wanting to regulate, especially the social media. I think it's an absurd. I don't understand what kind of what informs that kind of a person to say that. But because when you see the changes we are undergoing and the transformation in this spurred by the technology, it's unimaginable to think about regulating in that sense. And I also use that term regulating because I also want to probably bring it to my last comment, which is we are possessed with the idea of policing and regulating things in this country. We have an obsession of, you know, how do we create peace during elections? We have to make sure people don't speak about specific things, people don't use specific terms. I honestly don't think those things work. When you tell people this terminology means this, those things do not work. We need to get back to encouraging people to learn about our culture. We have forgotten about our own, sorry, I'm going back to the same value system because I do feel like we have stopped emphasizing on what do we value as a country, as a people, who are we as a people. And then we come to the conversation about our politics using that kind of a lens.
I hear you. I wish you had more time because even from what you've said, you've already opened up a different conversation that due to the constraint of time, we can't divulge into that. But nonetheless, I mean, thank you so much for coming. It has been quite insightful, just understanding also from your perspective what we need to do, at least to ensure that we maintain this. We need each other at the end of the day.
Maybe I should have ended by telling people, get out and vote on Tuesday. There's nothing like these are two evils. No, you have a choice to make.
All right.
Choose one.
I hear you. And that has been Professor Kithinji Kinyua, lecturer at Sophia University, Tokyo, in Tokyo, Japan, lecturer of politics and culture. Right next to him is Dr. John Mwangi, who is a senior researcher at GLOSEPS, and obviously focus on peaceful election has formed the center of our conversation. Thank you so much for watching. Good place to end. Good morning, Kenya. Till next week. Have a beautiful morning.
Kupata heshima kama sikiza tune kwenye simu yako, bonyeza *811 759 hash.
Ukiwa mtu wa heshima, utaheshimiwa. Ukiwa mtu wa kupeana, nawe utapewa. Ukiwa wewe ni wa kudharau wengine, utadharauliwa. Ukiwa wa chuki, malipo ni yale yale. Ikiwa wewe ni mtu wa haramu, vile vile itakupata tu. Na kama wewe ni mtu wa kushauri kwa hekima,
kupata heshima, bonyeza *811 759 hash. *811 759 hash.
We can't continue to keep on living like this.
Who made it me again? Never.
Lionel can't do that to you. No, he can't leave with the money that is mine and my sons to inherit. No.
I want to be with you and with our children. Because for me, Mao will be like my son.
That's why I'm backing her up with this marriage, and I am more than happy to do it. You do understand what I'm saying, right?
Only have to find a way. And what could be better than to take away what you love the most?
Kwa miaka 11 Minto FM imekuwa pamoja nanyi ikiwapa burudani na kuwaelimisha. Na sasa tunawaalika mashabiki wetu tujumuike pamoja kwa tamasha la Minto Night. Tarehe 6 mwezi Agosti tutakuwa na Minto Night huko Winds Park Resort Kisii. Wanamuziki kama vile Kwasa, Embarambamba na wengine watakuwa site kuwaburudisha. Siku ya Jumapili tarehe 7 Agosti, Minto FM itaandaa maombi ya shukrani na kuombea uchaguzi wa amani katika uwanja wa Electoral Primary School kuanzia saa 3 asubuhi. Waimbaji wa nyimbo za dini wakiwemo Evangelist Eric Mwaniki, Molly Kemunto na wengineo watakuwemo. Nyote mwalikwa.
Minto FM yenye karuga y'umuguzi.
Naam, hii ni Mitikasi Leo, makala kutoka BBC yaliyomo kutoka hatua ya utayarishaji makala hadi ile ya kuchuma hela. Tunapigia jicho jinsi ya kutengeneza hela kupitia mitandao ya kijamii. Baadaye Zimbabwe yapunguza makadirio ya ukuaji wa uchumi wa mwaka 2022 hadi 4.6 ukiwa na migogoro ya kimataifa. Alafu kisha waweza fanya kazi katika kampuni inayochipukia na ni nini unachotakiwa kuzingatia? Tunalojibu moja kwa moja kutoka Nairobi, Kenya. Twende kazi. Masala popote ulipo na karibu katika toleo la leo, makala inaangazia habari za biashara zinazokuhusu, uchambuzi wa kina na mahojiano. Ni Selina Smashigadi. Je, wewe hupiga picha au video kwa lengo la kuzalisha maudhui kwa ajili ya kujifurahisha, kusaka masoko au kujitangaza kupitia mitandao ya kijamii? Na labda unatumia mtandao gani wa kijamii? Sasa mtandao wa kijamii wa kushiriki video ulio na kitovu chake Uchina, TikTok, umekuwa chombo kikuu kwa washawishi kutumia katika kusaka masoko ifikapo mwaka 2025. Hii ni kulingana na ripoti ya eMarketer. Sasa chukua mfano huu. Kabi Lame, mzaliwa wa Senegal, ambaye kwa hivi sasa ndiye mtumiaji mkuu wa mtandao duniani akiwa na takriban wafuasi milioni 143. Hayo yote bila ya kutamka chochote. Sasa si hayo kumradhi, kuna hela za kuchuma. Sasa mtumiaji wa TikTok walio na umaarufu hupata wastani wa takriban milioni 2.5 kwa mwaka kupitia hazina ya utayarishaji ambayo ni hazina rasmi iliyoanzishwa ili kufidia watayarishaji wa maudhui hayo. Njia zingine wanazojipatia hela ni kupitia kupeana zawadi moja kwa moja, ofa ya chapa, matangazo ya nyimbo na uuzaji. Wale walio na wastani wa wafuasi 80,000 wanatengeneza takriban $270 kwa mwezi. Sasa kizazi cha hivi sasa ambacho kinajumuisha 60% ya utumiaji kwenye mtandao huo wa Twitter. Je, kuimarika kwa TikTok inaweza kuwa sababu ya Instagram kufanya jaribio ambalo limeshtumiwa vikali kwa kufanana na TikTok na kisha kusalia jinsi ilivyo. Na kuweka miadi swala hili kwa sasa naungana naye Naomi Mtua, meneja wa mitandao ya kijamii. Shukran sana karibu katika Mitikasi Leo.
Asante.
Labda ikizingatiwa kwamba kizazi kipya, yani Generation Z, ndio walio wengi katika mtandao wa TikTok, labda wanaweza kufanya nini ili kuweza kujipatia hela kupitia majukwaa haya?
Wajua, kwenye mtandao lazima ufikirie ni nini unataka kufanya hapo. Aidha unataka kuburudisha watu, unataka kuwaelimisha, ama unataka kuwapa taarifa. Ukishachagua chenye unataka kufanya, hapo sasa ndio unaanzia kujua sasa ni swala gani utatuelezea. Kwa hivyo lazima kwanza ufikiria ni nini unataka kufanya hapo. Ama kama si hivyo, wewe ni wale wengine wetu wenye tunaangalia ni nini kinachofanyika hapo. Hakuna chenye tunapaza watu. Kwa hivyo vijana lazima wajue ni nini kwanza wanachotaka hapo. Hapo ndio mwanzo wa kujua sasa vile utatumia mtandao huo.
Tunaona wengi kama ulivyosema wanajifurahisha tu katika mitandao hii ya kijamii. Hawana mawazo ya kufikiria kibiashara. Labda tutaelekeza vipi katika mtazamo huo?
Unapofahamu kile unataka kufanya, sasa lazima ujue pengine ni kampuni gani unaweza wasiliana nazo, ufanye kazi nao, ama ni jambo gani yenye utatuelezea watu sasa waanze kukua kama audience yako. Unapoendelea kuwa na hiyo audience inakuwa kubwa, hapo ndio sasa kampuni zitaanza kuja kwako waone vile unaweza fanya kazi nao. Lakini lazima pia chenye unafanya lazima kiambatane na hizo kampuni. Kama havitaambatana hawataweza kufanya kazi nawe. So ukisha decide sasa kama ni swala la pengine fedha ama dance ama nini, sasa ukishaambatanisha na hizo kampuni, wataona vile mnaweza fanya kazi pamoja ndio wakulipe.
Naomi, kwa kiufupi zaidi, kuna watumiaji wengi ndani ya TikTok, Instagram. Labda utajiweka vipi katika mantiki ambayo wewe unakuwa kipekee, haukui kama wale, sio?
Sasa hapo ndio tunasema lazima utafute ile tunasema niche subject. Yani uko na mtindo wako, style yako, vile unavyotengeneza hii content. So kama ni kujitayarisha sasa kufanya hivi, style yako lazima ikuwe tofauti na wengine. Either ni vile unavyocheza dance, ni vile unavyoongea, ni vile unavyochekesha watu. Lazima utafute vile utakuwa unique kidogo. Usiwe una copy wengine kabisa. Hiyo style ni lazima.
Shukran sana Naomi. Kwa sasa tupe macho taarifa zingine za biashara kutoka barani Afrika na kimataifa. Kenya imetia saini mkataba na Ethiopia ambao utaiwezesha nchi hiyo kununua umeme wa bei nafuu kutoka kwa jirani yake kwa miaka 25 ijayo. Chini ya mkataba huo, Kenya itapata megawati 200 katika miaka mitatu ya kwanza kabla ya usambazaji kuongezwa hadi kufikia megawati 400 kwa kipindi kinachosalia chini ya mkataba huo. Alafu Zimbabwe imepunguza makadirio yake ya ukuaji wa uchumi wa mwaka huu kutoka 5.5% hadi 4.6%, ikisema kushuka huku kutasababishwa na bei za juu za mafuta, chakula na mbolea pamoja na changamoto za kinyumbani. Taifa hilo limekuwa likipambana kupunguza mfumuko wa bei ambao uliafikia 191 mnamo Juni. Alafu Algeria, Niger na Nigeria zimeanzisha tena mazungumzo ya kufufua mradi wa dola bilioni 13 wa kusafirisha gesi kutoka jangwa la Sahara na kuuza bara Europa. Haya yanajiri huku Ulaya ikitafuta vyanzo mbadala vya gesi ili kupunguza utegemezi wake wa Urusi ambaye ilivamia Ukraine. Hii ni Mitikasi Leo kutoka BBC, takaangazia hivi punde. Je, waweza kufanya kazi katika kampuni inayochipukia na ni nini unachotakiwa kuzingatia? Tunalojibu. Tusonge mbele. Je, unaweza kuacha kazi yako sasa hivi na kuanza ajira upya kwa kampuni inayochipukia? Sasa kulingana na jarida la Wall Street, 50% pekee ya kampuni changa hudumu hadi kufikia miaka 5 na ni kampuni chache ambazo hukua hadi na kuwa na tija. Kwa hiyo uamuzi wa kufanyia kazi kampuni changa inaweza kuleta fursa nyingi. Sasa lakini changamoto pia nazo ni nyingi. Ripoti iliyofanywa na kampuni ya Kipa imeonyesha kuwa 22% ya watu wenye umri wa kufanya kazi Afrika huanzisha biashara kutokana na sababu mbalimbali, lakini biashara hizo huanguka kwa sababu ya ukosefu wa rasilimali na mifumo finyu. Kuboresha mifumo ya kibiashara kunaweza kufungua fursa zenye thamani ya dola trilioni 12, huku zaidi ya nusu ya fedha hizo zikiwa katika nchi zilizoendelea. Kwa mantiki hii basi, je, unapaswa kuzingatia nini kabla ya kwenda kufanyia kazi kampuni changa? Awali nimezungumza na Elizabeth Njeru ambaye ni mtaalamu wa masuala ya nguvu kazi. Nilianza kwa kumuuliza kuna changamoto zipi zinazotokana na kufanyia kazi kampuni ambayo inayochipukia ikilinganishwa na ile ambayo imestawi.
Mara mingi ni mishahara. Watu wanashindwa vile ambavyo watalipwa kwa sababu kama wanashindwa vile ambavyo mwajiri atawapatia pesa. Kwa sababu kitu cha kwanza ambacho kinakuja sana, watu wanashindwa vile ambavyo kampuni inatengeneza pesa. Na waajiri wengi wanakupatia stock options. Na ukipewa stock options, hauwezi kuwa very sure kama ni ukweli kampuni itakuwa na hiyo opportunity ya kukupatia pesa enough ya kutengeneza hizo stock options.
Na Elizabeth, ni kampuni kama hizi zinavyochipukia, watawezesha vipi kuhakikisha kwamba wana mazingira mazuri ya kufanyia kazi, hasa kwa watu ambao wanafanyia kazi, sio?
Ukiangalia generation ya sahi, kuna vitu ambavyo wanaangalia sana. Inaitwa work ethic na environment ambayo unafanyia kazi. Kwa hivyo, ukienda pale ukipata mwajiri ambaye haizi elewa kile ambacho kinakufanya uende kazini kila siku, watu wanatend kuacha kazi. Kwa hivyo, unafaa kuketi chini na ule mwajiri wako ama manager wako, muagree, mkwe na agreement ambayo anajua kitu ambacho kinakupatia direction ya kufanya kazi. Kwa hivyo, kampuni inafaa focus more on people.
Elizabeth, kuna nafasi au fursa ambazo zinajitokeza kwa wale ambao wanaajiriwa na kampuni kama hizi ambazo zinachipukia, kwa wao kuchukua na labda kujiwekea wao wenyewe na kujinufaisha?
Nafasi ziko, fursa ziko pia, na zinakuwa ni very lucrative. Advantage ama disadvantage ni kwamba hizi startups zinakuwa na very lucrative terms and conditions. Na vile nimekuwa nikiona katika hii industry, watu wamekuwa wakitaka sana kwenda kwa startups, lakini after some time wanataka kuondoka. Vijana sahi wanafaa kuangalia, anytime una apply kazi, unafaa uketi chini uangalie terms and conditions vile ambavyo ziko. Kwa startups zinakuwa very lucrative. Alafu ukienda kazini unapata kazi ni mingi sana. It's more than what you bargained for.
Tuelekee Uingereza sasa. Michezo ya Jumuiya ya Madola ya mwaka huu imeanza tayari. Mara nyingi michezo hii hujulikana kama michezo ya kirafiki. Wana michezo wanaoshiriki wanatoka katika nchi zilizowahi kutawaliwa na Uingereza ama mataifa yaliyoamua kujiunga na Jumuiya ya Madola. Je, tutarajie nini katika mashindano ya mwaka huu? Mwambwene Mwamaja na taarifa hiyo.
Michuano ya Jumuiya ya Madola kwa mwaka 2022 imeanza leo. Wanamichezo kutoka kila pembe ya dunia wanakusanyika kwa ajili ya mashindano ya siku 11. Kunakuwa na michezo mbalimbali sawa na Olimpiki, lakini ni kwa nchi wanachama za Jumuiya ya Madola ndio zinaruhusiwa kushiriki. Yalifanyika kwa mara ya kwanza mwaka 1930, wakati huo yakijulikana kama the British Empire Games, ikiwajumuisha wanamichezo 400 tu kutoka nchi 11. Kwa sasa yameimarika na kukua, ambapo sasa kuna nchi 72 na takriban wanamichezo 7,000. Kwa sasa sio tu kwa ajili ya mataifa yaliyokuwa makoloni ya zamani ya Uingereza pekee. Rwanda na Msumbiji pia, ambao hawakutawaliwa na Uingereza, wanashiriki. Michezo ya Jumuiya ya Madola inafanyika kila baada ya miaka 4 na mwaka huu itafanyika Birmingham hapa Uingereza. Kutakuwa na mashindano yaliyozoeleka kama riadha, kuogelea, kuendesha baskeli, lakini pia kutakuwa na michezo mingine iliyoongezwa. Mpira wa kikapu watu watatu kila upande, ambao kwa sasa umepata maarufu maeneo ya mijini. Ni mchezo wa haraka na unaohitaji nguvu, wakicheza nusu uwanja na goli ni moja. Na jitayarishe kupata michezo ya kustaajabisha. Pia kutakuwa na mchezo wa kwanza wa cricket ya T20 kwa wanawake. Michezo hii ya Jumuiya ya Madola ni kuleta usawa na ushirikishwaji kwa watu wote. Mashindano wana michezo wenye ulemavu pia yamejumuishwa, na mwaka huu yatakuwepo zaidi kuliko ilivyokuwepo hapo awali, ikiwemo mpira wa meza na unyanywaji wa vitu vizito. Na kwa mara ya kwanza kutakuwa na medali nyingi zaidi kwa wanawake kuliko wanaume.
Na iwapo ili kupita, msanii Diamond Platnumz amejibu madai kuwa lebo yake ya Wasafi WCB inakandamiza wasanii, akisema haoni tatizo kuchukua 60% ya mapato ya msanii wake. Hii ni kwa sababu muziki ni biashara. Mwisho mwa mitikasi hii leo ni Electoral Moshigadi. Hadi pale Mola atakaporidhia, tupatane tena.
Kupata kumpenda mtu kama skiza tune kwenye simu yako, bonyeza *811 *398 #.
Mapenzi si kumpenda mtu kwa kuwa amekamilika, kwani nawe pia una mapungufu yako. Kwa hivyo mapenzi ni kumpenda mtu na mapungufu yake.
Kupata kumpenda mtu, bonyeza *811 *398 *811 *398 #.
Kwa miaka 11 Minto FM imekuwa pamoja nanyi, ikiwapa burudani na kuwaelimisha. Na sasa tunawaalika mashabiki wetu tujumuike pamoja kwa tamasha la Minto Night. Tarehe 6 mwezi Agosti tutakuwa na Minto Night huko Winds Park Resort Kisii. Wanamuziki kama vile Kwasa Kwasa, Embarambamba na wengine watakuwa site kuwaburudisha. Siku ya Jumapili tarehe 7 Agosti, Minto FM itaandaa maombi ya shukrani na kuombea uchaguzi wa amani katika uwanja wa Electoral Primary School kuanzia saa 3 asubuhi. Waimbaji wa nyimbo za dini wakiwemo Evangelist Eric Mwaniki, Molly Kemunto na wengineo watakuwemo. Nyote mwalikwa.
Minto FM yenye karuga y'umuguzi.
Continue to keep on living like this.
We made it, sweetie. Now Gonzalo will never find his money again. Never.
You now can't do that to you. No, he can't leave with the money that is mine and my sons to inherit. No.
I want to be with you and with our children. Because for me, Mao will be like my son.
That's why I'm backing her up with this marriage, and I am more than happy to do it. You do understand what I'm saying, right?
Only have to find a way. And what could be better than to take away what you love the most?
Both of you are going to have a baby soon. Genova is here too. The king won't do anything to you.
What are you doing here?
You gave up your future for a woman. You've disappointed me.
Echoes fan.
Log on to the KBC website at www.kbc.co.ke to get the latest breaking news, entertainment, sports, politics, lifestyle or business trends from Kenya and around the world. Never miss new episodes from your favorite TV shows, reruns and movies. Just stream online or watch live on your YouTube channel at KBC Channel 1 TV shows. For the day's biggest stories, trustworthy news and family entertainment, log on to KBC Channel 1. Watch what you want anytime, anywhere.
Good morning. It is indeed the 4th day of August, and it is exactly 4 days to the general polls that will be on the 9th of August. My name is Bentro Enjoy, welcoming you for this edition News Check. And today we are looking at matters election preparedness with just 4 days to the polls. 22.1 to be precise, million Kenyans are expected to cast their ballot in the 46,200 polling stations countrywide. What do we know to this moment is that one is that IEBC yesterday in a presser said that all the ballot papers are with us and they have arrived safely, and the dispatching has already kicked off. Of course, they said that by the end of the week they will have made sure that the ballot papers are where they should be. Something else that we know is that the international observers are already in the country to ensure that, or to validate this election, the biggest in Kenya yet, led by former Tanzania President Jakaya Mrisho Kikwete. What else do we know? Yesterday was the last day that the opinion polls were supposed to either highlight what they had already gathered in regards to the 4 presidential candidates and any polling result that they wanted to announce. That is according to the law. What else we know is that the campaigns are expected to end this weekend. We are expecting mega rallies by Kenya Kwanza and Azimio, not to mention the other 2 presidential candidates. Wajakoya also will be wrapping up his campaigns, and also the Agano presidential candidate Waihiga Mwaure will also be winding up. Remember, as required by law, 48 hours no campaigns are supposed to be ongoing, 48 hours to the polls. What else do we know? Away from the politics, we are waking up to the news that Kenya has the first gold in the 100 meters in the Commonwealth. At least it's a breath of fresh air away from all the politics. Ferdinand Omanyala, 10.02 seconds to win the first gold that we have had in the Commonwealth, and also in the 100 meters in the Commonwealth ever. He has indeed made history. It's away from the politics, something we are also embracing and happy about. But let's get back to politics and election preparedness. And now, joining me, I have a panel of experts here to try and put things into perspective, because a lot is currently happening when we talk about politics in the country. On my immediate right, we have, is not a new face here, he's an advocate of the High Court and is also a governance expert, Wambui Shadrack. Karibu sana, Council.
Thank you, Ben. It's always a pleasure to be here. Yes, I'm looking forward to the discussion.
And the election as well.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
And on my extreme right, we have Willie Kamau. Yes. Willie Kamau is also a political and governance expert, and also will be joined, I'm hoping we're joined by another lawyer and also a political analyst we have ever had here. That is Gibson Gisore a little bit later. But away from that, first things first, everything is ready according to IEBC. All the ballot papers are here. It's just the logistics they are doing to ensure that the polls are credible, fair, and each and every day, beginning Monday, they are assuring Kenyans that all is set. 4 days to the general election.
Yes, Ben. Perhaps even before I dive straight into the topic of discussion, I must join Kenyans and people of goodwill in congratulating Omanyala for that success and the win for Kenya.
Yes.
That goal means everything to us. It's the second from the year 1962 or something or thereabout. So it's a good thing for Kenya, and we are hoping that this should be a demonstration of the winning ways that we have as a country. Now, diving straight to the issue, the election preparedness, of course, with a focus on the IEBC. I begin first by highlighting that the Supreme Court in the year 2017, through the leadership of Emeritus David Kenani Maraga, told us that election in itself is a process. It is not an event. So that when you want to look at election preparedness, we do not want to focus really on what has been mentioned by the IEBC chair, that as far as they are concerned, they are ready and prepared to do the elections come the 9th day of August, next week on Tuesday. So really, mine will be a wider analysis of perhaps what we will be calling the election preparedness as far as the IEBC is concerned. But give it to them. Of course, they have had their misses and hits, but one thing is for sure is that they have tried to comply with the timelines that are set in law. The only challenge, and perhaps what might be a hindrance to the free and fair election, as far as other people are concerned, because free and fair is largely a subjective question. Because what might be free and fair to you might not really be free and fair to us.
Yes.
But if we subject it to an objective scale, any man or any woman who is walking in our streets here in Nairobi, can they say these elections will be free and fair? As we speak right now, there are a number of cases that are still pending in the higher court. There are a number of issues that are still pending in courts that touch on the elections that we hope to participate on the 9th day of August. So to that extent, there has been questions. I have seen one, and I will be participating fully in it, where issues about integrity has been raised.
Yes.
A number of candidates.
Yes.
A number of candidates who are participating either as members of parliament or governors, or even the deputy president of this country, one of the deputy presidents, hopefuls in this country. So that is still a pending question, which touches on the credibility of the election come the 9th day of August. So that in a sense is something else that we should be focused on. As we know of it, Reuben Kigame, received a judgment from learned Justice Anthony Mrima, but directed the IEBC to include his name as among the presidential hopefuls that we have in this country. But soon thereafter, we saw the IEBC file an appeal before the Supreme, the Court of Appeal, and there is a stay to that to that decision that was made by Justice Anthony Mrima. So the question that probably you will be asking yourself, and of course the citizens sitting at home might be asking themselves, so what becomes of the fate of Reuben Kigame?
Yeah, and again, because of course we are also expecting Mugure and Dande, the learned judge, is also having the same thing.
Yes.
We will be touching on that because at the end of the day, Reuben Kigame, after the elections, can go to court to challenge that, right? But we will be looking at that because we still have the Court of Appeal and also the Apex Court. But let's hear 4 days. Yes. To the general election, IEBC, beginning Monday, they said that they will be ensuring that they have a presser each and every day to assure Kenyans that all is set and done. And the latest one, being yesterday, is that all the ballot papers are here, and it's just the distribution and a few challenges here and there because of the internet, which they say that they are adequately looking into. 4 days to the national polls.
Okay. First, I would also like to take this opportunity and congratulate Omanyara for putting the nation at the world map. He has done us an honor. That's an honor. Some things you can only credit them as honor. He has done us a great honor, and so God bless him. I want to believe and assume that Wafula Chebukati, being the chairman of the IEBC, having been the only chairperson to oversee 2 elections, I want to believe he has used all the experience he has had before to make sure that we have a credible, smooth election. He has had 5 years to prepare himself and his institution to make sure that we do not have a case like the one of 2017 where the High Court, or rather the Supreme Court, nullified the whole election. It was not on matters rigging. It was on matters irregularities and illegalities. You know, when someone says that you can steal an election, you need to tell the aspirants or the politicians and the voters which key places to look out for. How do you steal an election? It is next to impossible to rig an election because you would pin out the key areas that you need to look out when we are going through the process of an election. And so I want to believe that the IBC is ready. And it has perfected the art, having Wafula Chebukati been there now for the 2nd time in a row. And I want to believe that this time is going to be as smooth as possible. So without a shadow of doubt, I want to believe we are ready. Actually, as I was coming here this morning, I heard that IBC has dispatched 35 the ballots, the election ballots to 35 counties. So meaning they are yet to finish about 7.
About 7 and the presidential.
Exactly. So that is a sign of well preparedness. 4 days to election, and having done that to 35 counties, I think that let's always not be negative about our nation and their institutions. So far, so good. There's nothing to worry about. I can say that he has shown preparedness, and I want to assure Kenyans, I have been on the ballot for 2 times. I've ran my own election for 2 times. First as an MCA and second as an MP. And I want to tell Kenyans that there's nothing as hard as stealing an election. It is almost impossible.
Actually, Kamau, we always have issues in terms of transmission of results and other. Yes, not exactly the stealing of the election.
Yes, because you should point out and say this is the part to watch out for. Yes. There are your agents there in the polling station that are your eyes and ears. Yes. You have given them proper training, and so they need to tell you this did not go well, that did not go well. And so that is why when in 2017 when Maraga was narrowing the election, he did not say it was rigged. He did so on the accounts of irregularities and irregularities. And I want to believe that Wafula Chebukati has now perfected the art so that we don't have a repeat scenario of what happened in 2017.
Indeed. And Council, something that you mentioned has hit the headlines. Actually, if you look at the Kenyan dailies, they are all talking about that, the question of integrity. The question of integrity. And to be specific, they're talking about chapter 6. They want an interpretation on constitutional interpretation on chapter 6, because a lot of politicians, the IEBC, first of all, the EACC had raised the red flag, talked about these people, this is the list, these people should not be at the ballot. But IEBC talked about, no, unless their cases are concluded in court, including the pending appeals. Case in point is the Waluke case, who was convicted and had to spend some time at committee before he made his appeal. He's out, and he is still at the ballot. He's not the only one. They are talking about the Kenya Kwanza running mate. I've talked about Aisha Jumwa. They have mentioned a number of politicians. So question is, the constitutional interpretation in court at the moment, just 4 days to the general poll. Okay, before you do that, first of all, my director informs me that we have an IEBC presser, right? Yes, and IEBC CEO Marjan is currently addressing. Let's first of all listen in.
There is nothing we want to hide. So the media will be allowed to do their own tallying, the political parties will be doing their own tallying. But at the end of the day, it's actually the commission that is going to be responsible for declaration and also announcement. So I think for now, let me take this opportunity to thank you very much. I know also you are going to be all over the country. Our only prayer is that you don't just focus on the town centers. If it is possible, you should go to the rural areas and cover those areas that mostly many people will not like to go. If it is possible, you like all of these polling stations to be covered by the observers and monitors. And finally, we expect good reports from you, reports that are not biased, but the reports that are objective, that will assist the Commission to even streamline and improve its activities after the elections. With that, with those few remarks, let me once again thank you, and I wish you fruitful deliberation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Marijan Hussein Marijan, the Commission Secretary and CEO for IBC. Allow me to welcome Madam Juliana Cherera, who is also the IBC Vice Chairperson and the Chairperson of the Media and Call Center here at the National Tallying Center. Let's welcome her with a hand of applause. I know it's cold. Let's clap. Give her a better hand of applause. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Thabita. The Chair of the Commission, IEBC, Mr. Afula Chebukati, fellow commissioners, the CEO of IEBC, directors, staff, our esteemed observers, good morning. I want to first take this opportunity to thank all of you for coming to this briefing session, and also to thank you for showing your interest to become observers in this 2022 general election. From our portal, we have seen more than 10,000 individuals showing interest to become observers. So we are glad as a commission that we are opening up the space for transparency and credibility. This is very key to us, because not unless the elections are transparent and credible, no one is going to accept the results. But the steps that we are taking, indeed, we are removing all shadow of doubt so that this process is very transparent and everyone can see for themselves and judge for themselves. I want to speak something on the administrative bit of it. As you can see, there are 10,000 individuals that have shown interest to become observers in different areas, and we have more than 1,000 who have shown interest to become observers at the National Tallying Center. The National Tallying Center at the main auditorium can only hold 2,000 individuals. 2,000 individuals. And as the chair in charge of partnerships, we have different partners and different stakeholders. So that number already, the observers are taking half of it. And to put logic into the works, we are going to limit the numbers and give each and every organization that has shown interest to become observers at the National Tallying Center, but reduce the numbers of individuals that you have registered or applied for. So this is for administrative purposes, so that we can have all our other partners and other stakeholders that will be present at the National Tallying Centers. But for the areas that you have been accredited for in the field, there is no limitation. You are free to observe and to go to the areas that you have been accredited for. So for the National Tallying Centers, that is where we will limit, but we'll ensure that every organization gets a chance. So with those few remarks, allow me to now officially ask the chair of IBC to come and give his opening remarks and officially open this session.
Good morning. Mine is to welcome you, both local and international observers, to observe the 2022 general elections. As a commission, we have the duty and responsibility to ensure that observation missions are part of our electoral process. It is indeed our constitutional requirement. If you look at our Constitution Article 8.4, it says the Commission shall facilitate observers as part of our constitutional mandate. And so your being here adds credibility to the process we are undertaking. As a commission, and as CEO has told you, and my vice chair, that we are ready for the elections on 9th of August. We have prepared everything, and right now what we are working on is just a bit of logistics of delivering materials, and as well as a bit of training of the staff that are going to be deployed in the elections, and especially the staff at the polling station level. So the Commission is ready, and for us to be able to inform the world that we have indeed delivered a free, fair, and credible election, which is transparent, your reports, your testimonies then come in to add to that transparency that we have been working on. And so mine is to welcome you to Kenya. For those of you who are from outside, as has been mentioned, we have a team of applications of about 18,000 observers who will participate in this year's election. 10,000 have already been processed, including yourselves, and 8,000 are being processed. International observers, about 1,300. The rest are local observers. So we have more observers than the number of candidates participating in this year's election. We have about 16,000 candidates contesting for 1,882 elective positions. The technical team will take you through what's expected of you, and they'll also be able to answer most of the do's and the don'ts as you go around the country and as you visit our tallying centers during your mission. But otherwise, for us as a commission, we welcome you. We have other meetings we must run to, but in case you have any questions that touch on the general aspects of the elections, which are not technical, because the technical team will deal with your technical details, you can allow some 2 or 3 questions before we retreat to another meeting. So welcome to Kenya for those of you from outside, and enjoy your stay. Thank you.
A good hand of applause for the chairman. Thank you. Allow me to welcome Joyce Akelo, Partnerships Officer, to come and give us a brief on the election observation process, principles of election observation, responsibilities of the Commission, the 2022 general election context, and observers' reports. Now the workshop is officially opened by Mr. Wafula Chebukati. Welcome, Joyce.
Thank you, Tabitha. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to quickly take you through, okay, not very quickly, take you through the roles of, as observers, your roles, your rights and privileges, and how to do your reporting. The first thing we're going to do is define what observation is. And the dictionary definition of observation is to notice or perceive something and register it as significant.
Sorry for that interruption. The chairman and commissioners will be leaving for another very urgent engagement. So we wanted to give you this opportunity. If you have 1 or 2 questions you'd like to ask them before they leave, please. This is your chance. I can see a hand on my right, on my left, at the center, and also on my right. Thank you. And this session will be moderated by none other than Commissioner Francis Wanderi.
Thank you for the opportunity to address our concerns. My name is Asta Wilson from the Electoral Government Empowerment Network. My concern is what mechanisms have we put in place to make sure that people with disabilities who are participating as observers can be able to participate fully. For instance, I am a deaf person. I came here and I found we didn't have an interpreter, so I went back to look for my own sign language interpreter to be here for this meeting. And I think that is not fair. not only in the national panel center, but even in the counties and the local institutions, which mechanisms do you have in place to make us participate equally with other hearings and non-disabled counterparts? Because without an interpreter, I cannot achieve any commitment, and getting information, I cannot participate like I would like to. So, we as an observer, I think it's good to have another observer. Thank you.
Another question?
Good morning. I'm Regina Manera from the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation. Right now we have received an update from the courts that has quashed the non-use of the manual register during the August 9th polls. I want the Commission to actually respond to this and how this is then going to affect the process in as far as the voting is concerned.
Another question, we asked 3 questions.
Good morning, my name is observer workshop to ensure that everyone knows his roles. Perhaps to just point out some of the things that have been said, the hall can accommodate only 2,000 and 2,500 individuals. The numbers will be limited per farm or organization. But there is no limitation for the other polling and tallying centers. Something else that has been talked about is that we have 18K observers, that is 18,000 observers. And Wafula Chebukati there noting that there are even more than people contesting for the seats to participate in this year's election. 10,000 have already been processed, and we have at least 1,200 international observers. And in that same engagement, we will be getting back. Regina Manyara is currently in that session, and she will be updating us more on what is currently transpiring. And back to our discussion, just in case you joined us, this is KBC News Check, and we are looking at election preparedness. Just 4 days, getting the polls, it's just 4 days to the general election, and some of the things that have been raised. And not only have EBC, have many people fielded so many questions in regards to the coming polls, there are also petitions pending in court just 4 days to the general polls, and that is something I would want to engage my panel of experts. And of course, we have 2 lawyers or 3 lawyers. Have 2 advocates of the High Court between 2 lawyers. All right. We have Wambui Shadrack, who is an advocate of the High Court. We have Willie Kamau, who is a governance expert, and now we have Gibson Gisore, who is also an advocate of the High Court. Gibson, karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Yeah, unfortunately, you've just arrived, and we're going to throw you straight into the deep end. Okay, let me start with you, Counsel.
Yes.
There are so many petitions and cases pending in court, but I think the ones with the most interest first is the question of the constitutional interpretation of Chapter 6 in regards to some of the aspirants or candidates, because they have all been cleared, who are contesting in the coming election. And also we have the Ruben Kigame. I begin with, we should begin with the integrity one, then we look at the Ruben Kigame case.
Yes, now, first I must highlight one thing. I believe my co-panelist here, my good friend here, who is very good at governance, had mention of elections and stealing and rigging of elections. There is a text that perhaps even our readers should try and look at. Nick Chisman and Brian Klass, they have written a text on how to rig elections.
Okay, Council, apologies. Just a minute, we have to check your sound. Perhaps I am privileged to have 2 lawyers, so perhaps I will first of all engage Gisore as we work out your audio. We are having candidates who have pending cases in court, and now somebody has gone to court, and Mogode Dande has been tasked with having to listen to that case in regards to the interpretation of integrity as enshrined in Chapter 6 of the Constitution. EACC had also raised the same flag, a red flag, in regards to candidates who have pending cases, some murder.
Yes, Troy, we are at a very interesting juncture where we are testing the strength of our Constitution. Our Constitution is strong enough, but there are other enabling laws which are supposed to enforce the Constitution. And I think that's where the challenge lies. The issue with now where we have to have Mugure Tande come clean or try to explain the status of what is exactly our Chapter 6 talking about is a situation we shouldn't find ourselves in. It's because of situations or institutions and circumstances which have one thing has led to another, and we have found ourselves here. That is where we need a very clear interpretation. What it is that we expect out of Chapter 6. Is it just there for the sake? Because everybody else we expect not to be running seems to be clear to run. The other excuse is about the other issue is the constitutional interpretation in regards to constitutional principles of justice and fairness. You see, somebody must have gone through the process successfully to the very end to ensure that he's allowed a fair chance to defend himself to the very end. So some of these cases, give it what I call them, whatever it is you can call them, some of these people have realized there's a loophole that you can actually be persistently be in court. However much that you've been found to have committed a crime here, you can still appeal. You can still even finish the Kenyan jurisdiction, still go to the East African court, and still say, I still have a case pending. So some of these are techniques which people are coming up with, and I think the enforcing law or the laws which Parliament is supposed to pass should actually be able to come clean and say that at what point does litigation come to an end, so that we can actually have give life to Chapter 6.
Because looking at any constitutional interpretation, looking at a case example of former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko, he has exhausted all the Kenyan courts. He has now appealed at the East African court.
Yes.
He hasn't done. He's not done with his appeals. So does that mean that perhaps he could still be at the ballot pending that? Because if we are going to be waiting for all the constitutional interpretation and anybody or everybody to exhaust all the legal framework, then we could find ourselves in such a case.
I think for the case of Mike Sonko, he's just trying to vindicate himself and to hold the funds
because of the
expectations of the funds.
Yes.
Yes, but I think his chances of succeeding are slim. From where I stand, that's my opinion. But then you can't stop him from going wherever he wants to be given audience. If he has audience at the East African court, let him get it. Even Mother Karua did that to the Supreme Court and still went to the East African court. It found in favor of her, while the other courts had failed. So still it's a court, and it's a court which we as a country we are party to, so we cannot stop people from going there.
All right, we're going to get back to the courts because there are so many petitions and so many things that we're supposed to hear. But Kamau, let me bring you in on what IEBC has just said. 18,000 election observers. We are having 16,000 candidates. So even Chebukati, it was a light moment. He's talking about we have even more election observers than we have those candidates who are seeking election posts. But we will weigh in on that. But first of all, let's cross over to Kisumu. Wycliffe Okech is currently on standby to give us a feel of the election preparedness in Kisumu. And remember, you do remember some of the states, some of the countries have talked about Kisumu and urged their countrymen or their kings not to be in Kisumu if they can really avoid it. But of course, IBC and the security forces saying that all is set. Wycliffe, what is the latest from Kisumu?
A very good morning to you, Ben Trenji. Back in Nairobi. We are, of course, coming to you live from Kisumu this morning on when it's only 4 days left until Kenyans head to the poll to elect the next crop of the leaders who will guide them, who will lead them for the next 5 years. And the countdown is on. Today is four days left, and we spoke about the campaign trail yesterday. We saw the ODM leader leading campaigns in Kakamega and Busia County. Kenya Kwanza else are also trying their best to cover as much ground as possible. And just today we are looking at the status of preparedness regarding the next 2 days of vote. And by yesterday, the electoral body had indicated that the distribution of materials is underway. And by yesterday, about 60% of the distribution had already been conducted, with only about 40% remaining. And just narrowing down from the national level to the county level here, we are looking at the county of Kisumu with the number of constituencies. That is 7 constituencies here in Kisumu. And just looking at the situation of preparedness here in Kisumu, I believe there's no better person to help us understand that other than the Kisumu County Elections Manager, Mr. Solomon Modanya, who I have with me here, probably to help us understand the status of preparedness of the coming vote next Tuesday. Mr. Solomon, we are live on KBC Channel 1, our news check show, and today we are discussing election preparedness. In your position as the county elections manager, what will you tell us about the status of preparedness in Kisumu County in terms of distribution of materials and their safety?
Good morning, everyone. I want to report that in Kisumu County, as far as preparation is concerned, everything is going on smoothly. So far, all the constituencies, the 7 constituencies in Kisumu, that is Kisumu Central, Kisumu East, Kisumu West, Nyakach, Nyando, Muhoroni, have received the material, strategic and non-strategic material. All the tallying center are already operational, because all this material has already been delivered to the tallying centers. And at the same time, almost all the constituencies have received the ballot papers for the other positions other than the presidency. And we are hoping possibly today, tomorrow, the day after, we should be receiving the ballot paper for the presidential position. So in terms of security, everything is on top of the gear. We have been having meetings with the security personnel, and we are just waiting for them to be deployed. But as I speak right now, all the tallying centers are already under 24-hour guard, because we already have strategic material and non-strategic material in those centers. For the county tallying center, we shall be having it at Tom Mboya Labour College, and we expect it to be operational any time from now, so that we start setting it up ready for the D-Day. Yes.
Yesterday, the IBC chair indicated that voters can now start confirming their particulars in their respective polling stations rather. Do you have any information regarding as to whether in Kisumu that has begun?
Yeah, that has already started. Yesterday, but when we delivered all the KIMs which carry the register to the tallying center, so all the returning officers at the constituency level, they already have the KIMs that have the register. At the same time, as the law requires, we already printed the physical register, and it's been pinned on at the entrance of all the polling stations that we are going to use in Kisumu, which comes to about 1,170 polling stations in Kisumu County. Yes.
Kisumu County is one of the counties that were flagged by the National Cohesion and Integration Commission as it was marked as one of the potential hotspots. Do you think there has been a security lapse in the recent past, or rather, and probably has there been a lapse, and in case there may be, what's the redress? Is the security body ready?
As far as my office is concerned, Kisumu County, as far as security is concerned, we are ready. We have been meeting security personnel at the county level in meetings, and also we have had some training with them under the ISAP program. And as I speak right now, we are ready not to handle any situation. As far as the election is concerned, I don't think there's any problem. What you're referring to could be maybe border issues between Kisumu and Nandi, but I think the security team is dealing with that effectively. Yes.
You're the county elections manager. Yes. What message do you have for the electorate? We only have 4 days. Do you in your position, do you think vote education has been conducted effectively?
Yeah, vote education has been conducted effectively. For the past 1 month, we have been doing vote education, and it's still going on, and it will go on even 1 week after the voting, just to be able not to gather information that would have happened during the election day, so that informs part of our report we are going to write about what exactly happened in Kisumu County. So vote education, I want to assure all the residents of Kisumu, it has been conducted, is still going on, and we have had one count vote educator at the constituency level. We also have one, and then we have 2 vote educators at each ward, and that is going on. So far the progress has been very good, and I want to appeal to the residents and all people of Kisumu, please, to come out in large numbers to cast their vote, so that they're able to determine to choose leaders who are going to lead them for the next 5 years. All right. Yeah, thank
you so much, Ben. That is Mr. Solomon Modanya. Actually, he is the Kisumu County Elections Manager, speaking to us there about the status of preparedness here in Kisumu. You've heard, he has mentioned that Kisumu, the distribution of materials is already underway, with all the 7 constituencies receiving their respective materials, and his parting shot is an appeal to the electorate actually to come out in their numbers come Tuesday to elect to exercise the constitutional right by electing their next crop of voters. Well, this is something we'll continue monitoring and updating our viewers progressively. Back to you, Ben.
Continue to keep on living like this.
We made it, sweetie. Now Gonzalo will never find his money again. Never.
Lionel can't do that to you. No, he can't leave with the money that is mine and my sons to inherit. No.
I want to be with you and with our children. Because for me, Mao will be like my son.
That's why I'm backing her up with this marriage, and I am more than happy to do it. You do understand what I'm saying, right?
Only have to find a way. And what could be better than to take away what you love the most?
Both of you are going to have a baby soon. Genova is here too. The king won't do anything to you.
What are you doing here?
You gave up your future for a woman. You've disappointed me.
Echo's fan?
Mwezi mtukufu wa Muharram ambao ndio mwezi ambao tuko ndani yake sasa hivi ni mwezi ambao unahusika sana na ibada ya funga ya Tasua wa Ashura.
Kuna haki ya kuifunga siku kama hii, saumu ya Ashura, siku ambayo saumu ambayo kwamba ni bora. Ukifunga Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala anakusamia madhambi mengi.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
Peace and blessings be upon you. Ya Sayyidi, Ya Rasool, feel so lost without you. I long for that.
with numbers.
And I'm sure Dad is not supposed to find out about this.
No, not in this life.
How would you like coming to work here at JNJ?
Is Kathy in agreement with all of this?
I'm not answerable to her.
Why don't you want the same thing as your mother? How do I trust you?
I'll help you, the board members.
How?
I'll call them one by one.
I may want to hire your cousin.
Wewe nakutambua.
Baadaye.
Juu sasa umepataka hiyo kazi, utanipatia 20%.
Kio hii usisemage mimi huwa sikujegi.
Wewe usifanye nikuwe tena wewe. Mimi nimepataka nikitaka kutoka ni sherehe kazi.
Must he be here? Alafu utaniachia mlango, mimi nitafunga after meeting.
Welcome back. This is KBC News Check. We are looking at the countdown to election, just 4 days to the general polls, and we have been to the Bomas of Kenya, where IEBC is holding a workshop with observers. 18,000 have applied for that, and over 10,000 have already been cleared. 1,200 plus international observers have also been cleared to oversee that election. Then from Bomas, we've headed to Kisumu, where our reporter Wycliffe Okech has been talking with the County Returning Officer IEBC, and some of the things he has mentioned is that it's all systems go. Some of the poll materials are already there. They're just waiting for the presidential ones. And the materials there have a 24-hour guard. And of course, the voter confirmation is ongoing. Remember, IEBC the day before yesterday announced that as a voter, just to clear the whole issue of the manual voter register, they have pinned the manual voter register, or if you like, the physical register in your polling station. So it's upon you to go and check whether your ideas are still there. And also, he has talked about voter education is still ongoing, and I believe it's something that we also need to look at, the civic education. And some voters don't even know their rights as voters. But for now, we are crossing over to Mombasa, but on a different thing. And it's not a matter of election, but today, the head of state, President Uhuru Kenyatta, he is expected to commission the Makupa Bridge, and we have our very own Michael Mwadiga, who has been keeping a keen eye and is on standby to give us a feel of what to expect today. Michael, over to you.
Well, a very good morning to you, Ben Tronji. We're coming to you live from Mombasa. Of course, we are at the Makupa Bridge, and you're waiting for the head of state, that's President Uhuru Kenyatta, who will come here to commission the 4.5 billion Kenya shillings bridge, and also launch a railway line. We should be connecting the old railway station at the CBD, all the way to the Miritini SGR station. And just to give you a brief overview, is that the development of the multi-billion shillings project here at the coast by the government has also helped up in opening the region for investment, also in trade and tourism secretary. And earlier on, the State Department of Infrastructure principal, that is Paul Maringa, disclosed that the government has spent Kenya shillings 144 billion to construct 2,200 kilometers of road across the vast coastal region. And these projects have been spread all across the counties of coastal region, that is Lamu, Tana River, Taita Taveta, Kwale, and Kilifi. And just to give you just an insight on what will be expected on the launch of the new railway line, which will be connecting the old railway station at the CBD and that of the SGR in Mediterranean. I'm hereby joined by the Changamwe MP, just in a brief, just to tell us the importance or the significance of the railway line, which will be connecting the SGR terminal to the station at the CBD. Karibu mbunge wa hapa Changamwe, na tueleze tu kwa kifupi, unatarajia kwamba laini hii ya reli itasaidia vipi?
Kwa kweli ulimwengu mzima safari zote za reli huwa zinamalizikia katikati ya mji. Hii kidogo ilikuwa imetupatia wasiwasi kuwa haifiki mjini. Kwa hivyo ilikuwa kidogo inatupatia hofu kuwa haitakuwa imekamilika hii manake project hii. Lakini kwa sasa vile tumepata kujua kuwa ndani ya miezi 9 ama miezi 10 inayokuja wasafiri watakuwa wanatoka Nairobi na kuingia katikati ya mji, ambapo mtu anaweza kutembea kwa ofisi yake ama pande matatu aelekee kule anaenda. Hilo ni jambo ambalo tunalikaribisha sana na wananchi wamefurahia sana, na itapunguza gharama pia vile vile ya usafiri. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Of course, that is Changamwe MP. That is Changamwe MP just giving us just a brief on the significance of this railway line, which will be connecting the SGR terminal in Miritini with that of the CBD here in Mombasa County. And of course, these are some of the mega development, infrastructural development projects which have been launched by the government just to open up the coastal region. And as I've told you earlier on, it has opened up the region both on investment, tourism and trade. And as you know that Mombasa County is the hub of tourism. We have our coastal beaches which are here, and some of these infrastructure projects are also aiding the growth of tourism sector, because it has also led just to entice those both local and international investors just to invest in this vast coastal region. And mind you, the opening up of these sectors is going to create a lot of employment opportunities, and these are some of the projects launched by President Uhuru Kenyatta just to ensure that he leaves behind a legacy. And one of the issues in one of his projects is to ensure that there is employment for the youth. And when youth are employed, when we have our youth working, of course we're expecting a country that will be bringing forth a lot of innovations, and also to ensure that we improve the life standards. That's just what we have in brief for now. Of course, we'll be coming to you later, Ben Troy, just to give you a wider picture on what is happening here. As you expect, the head of state, we are being informed that he'll be starting from Makweli, inspecting some projects and launching some of the projects and coming here at the coast. So in a while, we'll be telling you what to expect and what will be coming on as events unfold. Back to you, Ben Troy.
Thank you, Michael Modiga, live from the coastal city of Mombasa. And a game changer there when it comes to transportation. We are expecting the head of state to be commissioning the new Makupa Bridge. And as the MP, the area MP there has talked about, it's going to be a game changer when it comes to transportation, as it will help in the transportation, and especially when we're talking about from Nairobi to the CBD there in Mombasa. And as soon as the head of state is there, of course, we will be headed there to get more information on the same. Thanks, Mike, for that. And away from that, let's come back to studio, where we are looking at the countdown to the 2022 succession politics. We are just 4 days away from the big day, and IEBC, all eyes on IEBC as they just finalize what they're supposed to be doing so that they actualize this great mandate which they have been bestowed on by Kenyans. And I have a panel of 3 experts here. We are trying to look at things. And also, talking of commissioning of the bridge, the head of state has been quite busy of late. Yesterday, you do remember, he was commissioning a military university, and the day before that, he was opening up a dam. He has been quite busy. Well, we'll be talking about that a little bit later, but first things first, let's first of all finish up with what IEBC. I was with you, and looking at all the observers, 18,000, they are even more than all the candidates who are contesting, just to show how IEBC is keen to ensure that this election is free and fair. And it's a good thing that you brought about the issue of election stealing in Kenya, because it's not when we are casting the ballot, when we are transmitting the result, it's where the issue basically has cropped up. And my two advocates here can attest to me that the cases in court were not exactly in the casting of the ballot in 2017, but more or less in the relaying and tabulation of those results. Your take?
First, Troy, allow me just to throw a thought on what you had previously asked my friend here. Matters, courts and elections. You see, election is a process. It's not a one-day event. And there are so many stakeholders that are involved. Now the problem is that all these stakeholders involved are not in sync in this country. One of the things we have realized is that there is now that tug of war. Who calls the shots? Who wears the pants in the election, in the election process? Someone like Mike Sonko at one point he's not cleared, he rushes to the court, he's cleared, then he's on the ballot, then he rushes somewhere, he's not cleared. You come to Kiambu where there is a senatorial candidate who was not cleared, matters corruption, then he rushes to court, the court says you cannot be cleared, he goes to high court, and then he's cleared, now he's in the ballot. It was actually rumored that the ballot paper by the time he was being cleared were already printed, so we don't even know how that is going to play out. Anyway, let's come back. You see, an observer, what's the work of an observer in an election? It is to observe, not to talk, not to comment, not to give advice, whether you are a lawyer or what you are. It's just to observe and write report, just in case of any dispute. Okay, these are now the reports from the observers that now the court rely on to make their ruling and their judgment. And it is actually advised, we've spoken about civic education. An observer should not even give an advice if they see anything going wrong. It is not for them to speak and say, doesn't your law say this? No, that is not their work. Also, it is not the work of agents or the POs or anybody in the polling station to confront an observer telling him, no. Their work is to observe and write a report, because in case of any dispute, those are some of the things that are looked into by the and having come from an election that had a lot of bone of contention with the issues of irregularities and irregularities, those reports will be relied on, because I want to believe we will have so many court cases right now moving forward after 9. You will say, oh, this guy Gibson Sidui did what, this one did do what. And so when we have these people in every polling station taking their observations and writing their reports, it is very crucial. But again, it is very good for the observer to make sure that every process they are involved, from the tallying, from the casting of votes to the opening of ballots to the sealing of the ballot, they need to write a report. So just in case of any dispute, then there is a report that can be relied on.
All right.
Yes.
And it's a good thing that you've clearly outlined what their role is to observe and to write a good report on the same. But gentlemen,
not a good report. What they saw, just an accurate, true report.
Okay. And on that observation, let's observe 2 minutes or 3 minutes of a break. It's already 11, gentlemen, but let's have that break, then we'll come back. Of course, we'll be sampling some of your comments and responses when we come back.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
can't continue to keep on living like this.
You made it, sweetie. Now Gonzalo will never find his money again. Never.
Lionel can't do that to you. No, he can't leave with the money that is mine and my sons to inherit. No.
I want to be with you and with our children. Because for me, Mao will be like my son.
That's why I'm backing her up with this marriage, and I am more than happy to do it. You do understand what I'm saying, right?
Only have to find a way. And what could be better than to take away what you love the most?
The 2022 Commonwealth Games will be hosted in Birmingham, United Kingdom from the 28th of July through the 8th of August 2022. Team Kenya is set to make its 17th appearance at the Games. Kenya will contest for medals in several disciplines, among them athletics, boxing, hockey, rugby, weightlifting, wheelchair basketball and parasports, among others. Watch the Games live on KBC Channel 1. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Welcome back. This is KBC News Check, and we are just 4 days away from the general election. We are taking a keen eye on all the stakeholders. IEBC has said that all is set and is actually meeting observers and other stakeholders at the Bomas of Kenya. We are keeping a keen eye on that. Of course, we're also keeping a keen eye on Kenya Kwanza. They announced that they are going to be having a press conference more or less on the election preparedness, and the gentlemen in studio with me are trying to put things into perspective. Also, when you talk about the observers, it's a matter of how credible that election is. 18,000, many observers, and international as well. Council, what is your take on the same? 18,000 against we've always had issues when it comes to election transmission. Now we have the largest number of election observers that Kenya has ever had.
No, Troy, as I was telling you before, when Nick Chisman and Brian Klass were writing their article, they have penned down a very good article that forms a very good read on how to rig elections, which has analyzed some of our democracies in this country, including Kenya, on our few elections that we have had. We have stolen our own elections, and we have had people ascend to higher offices through dubious means and not democratic means. So one of the ways of how to rig an elections is, number one, interfering with the independence of election observers, and number two, limiting or rather having none or little election observers. So when you have as we have been told by the IEBC that we are having observers who are almost twice the number of aspirants or candidates that we have, I think it's a good show of our democracy. And ultimately, when you look at the elections are conducted under certain set principles in the Constitution. If you read Article 81 and Article 86, it tells us that what will form a credible election. This is an election that is free, fair, it is transparent. So when we have observers during an election, what it does, it ensures that we promote transparency in the election process. So that ultimately what we will be having is an election process that people can give credibility. We have election observers that can tell us that this was done, we were there, and we are satisfied with the outcome. Remember, even one of the means, one other way of rigging an election is ensuring that we glorify the outcome rather than the process. And if you were to recall what transpired in the year 2017, the Supreme Court judges, what they told us is the process is as important as the outcome.
All right. Just a minute. And we are going also to be looking at the courts as well, because you guys are will be quite busy after next week, I'm quite sure, because a lot of election petitions, we are expecting a lot of election petitions. But back to you, there's a discussion that just refuses to go, and the cabinet secretary for ICT, Joe Mushel, cleared it yesterday, and he said that the government will not at all switch off any form of communication, because Kenyans have the right to information as enshrined in the constitution. But it's a discussion that has refused to go. We have seen, and even ELOG talked about, there's a lot of propaganda that could be detrimental to a free and fair, credible election. Because at the end of the day, a fair election is not just only on the casting and the counting of the votes. Gibson.
Yes, Troy, I think first I need to commend Musheru and the government itself, because for a moment, I thought we could head there. But as we stand, our own government has come out clean that we're not going to tamper with social media. Let Kenyans do what they have been doing consistently. Election is just a day's thing. It's a process, and we shouldn't be shocked that we are going to vote so that we switch off things. We can't panic. That's a sign of panicking. We have seen, for example, in Uganda, when they were doing elections, internet was switched off. In DRC, the same thing. In Ethiopia, the same thing. So we are living in a community where we have people or governments which do not trust their own people during elections, or they want to hide something from their own people which they can't manage. So they don't have trust in their own people, so that they can be able to shut their internet. So for our government to come out clean and say that we're not shutting, it shows how mature a democracy we are, how much the government believes in liberties, because social media is now a constitution of liberty. Look at it from whichever way, but now it's part and parcel of life, because it's a way of communication, it's a way of people expressing themselves, so that you know what is happening where. So that if you piece these things together, you can actually be able, it's also a kind of an observer process on the side. So that is very important.
I'm going to give you a chance as well, but still on the same, where can the government, or at what point can the government intervene? And what laws can they use to say what we have seen now is too much? We really need to regulate. Because he said, no, we are not touching. But at the end of the day, if you see Uganda, DRC, all those countries, there's a point that social media propaganda got so that the government can get to that decision.
I don't know, you know, if we go back to what Musheru said, when I think one of the commissioners of the one independent body, what is the name, he tried to say that, you know, it might get there. I think the Cohesion Commission.
Yes.
Musheru on Twitter wrote, I don't know which framework we're going to use, because for him as the ICT minister, he doesn't know any framework which can lead to Kenya shutting its internet. So it means he's a strong supporter of social media. Having worked at Google and having been exposed internationally, I think we cannot think any less of him, because now he stood to his grounds. Sometimes they could have used an excuse. You know, these other governments use an excuse to just shut the internet. Even the people who are on internet in these other countries are not as many as in Kenya. So internet is well established in Kenya. It's actually one of the fastest in the world. So it has become part and parcel of the life of Kenya. So if you shut it off, there's a lot of other things which are going to go wrong on that particular day, because it's not all about elections. There are other things, people doing marketing, selling their things. If you shut it, then what happens?
Wakili, perhaps you can also dig in that.
Yes. I mean, I join my colleague in, of course, appreciating the place of technology, especially internet in our current constitutional dispensation. Internet in itself is also an economic enabler, so that we have people who are trading on that internet. And if you interfere with the internet, of course, without any lawful justification, then it means you are also limiting chances of people gaining economically. And the government essentially is there so that it can promote you and me so that we can gain economically. The government is not there to provide employment for us all. No, it's just there to promote an environment where all of us can be thriving, and the internet could be one. So on the question on the National Cohesion Integration Commission, the NCIC are threatening that they will of course try and shut down the internet or liaise with the Ministry of the ICT to shut down the internet. I think this is just foolhardy. It is just it's just nonsensical, because number one, there is no ground to it. Secondly, if at all we have a fear, which could be legitimate if you ask me, that we will be having a lot of spread of propaganda, we'll be having a lot of insightful sentiments. We have seen our politicians now have turned themselves into what we call they are inciting people so that they can have an economical a political advantage. When you hear people saying that you've heard them previously, making reference to other tribes as being minorities and all that. So the government, the law is not without a recourse. The law has solutions to that, and that is why we have the office of the DPP. The DPP is supposed to act in committee with the NCIC so that we can detect. And the NCIC is well equipped with the police officers from the National Police Service. It has DCI officials or officers, and our current DCI is very competent. We have seen just recently a lab was launched at Kiambu, the headquarters Mazingira building, and that lab is one of a kind. We nowadays do not have to send our samples to South Africa or any other country. No, we are well equipped. We are able to detect an offense. We are able to prevent and even avert a possible violation of other people's rights. So to that extent, I think such sentiments by the NCIC are just idle statements. They are made, of course, being ignorant of the different avenues that they have in law. The NCIC has been very indolent, and they have not been consequential in terms of discharging their mandate is concerned. You do not see them doing anything other than those press conferences that they hold there at their offices. So what I think should be done, because we are also here to propose some solutions. I think the NCIC should just revisit their mandate. They should liaise properly with the office of the DPP. Let us, if you identify, if my colleagues here have posted things that are hateful, they are insightful, things that are likely to spread propaganda, because the freedom of expression is limited in law. It does not include the spread of propaganda and insightful statements. So you can be prosecuted in a competent court of law. So you cannot, in all sincerity, you cannot shut down the internet, basically because you feel uncomfortable that Roy, Ben has used the internet to propagate insightful statements, to spread propaganda. No, that is just ignoring the avenues that we have in law. So we, as a country, we have never run short of laws that can help us. The only problem is faithfulness. We are not faithful at, looking at the law. We are sometimes we even ignorant of the laws that govern us. Yes.
Maybe. Yes. On what Wakili has said, in this country, you have seen people prosecuted of what they have posted. So there's no reason any court of government to come and say, now we should shut it to avoid that, because there's a law, there's an enabling law, and people have been prosecuted previously. So there is no reason as to what. If somebody does a crime on the internet, that's actually solid evidence for the government to move and prosecute them. It actually makes work easier for the government, as opposed to when somebody does something on the ground and you have to go investigate. This one, just get where this guy stays. And the lab he has talked about and other things which government, the communication authority, they are well able to actually detect where you posted from and where it is that you stay. They can actually come for you. So that is actually helps them to deal with crime.
And still on the same, because looking at why people are inciting, because it is something that has been raised by even election observers, that there has been a lot of propaganda and insightful messages. But unfortunately, we have not convicted any politician in regards to the same who is in jail, because looking at all the election cycles, in 92, remember in the Burnt Forest, in 97, in 2007, even if we have free elections, we are still having 1 or 2, 3, 4 pockets of violence. But we have never convicted any politicians. That is why perhaps we are having that runaway propaganda that is there. But we have the legal framework that is there to ensure that we prosecute these people. But we haven't done that, and the law is there.
Yeah, what I can tell you is the fact that government has realized that internet is the best thing. If we go back to 2007, Kenya was one of the countries which used social media to actually track and help people who are in the violence-prone sites. And that evidence went all the way to the ICC. It's actually what was relied on to prosecute the president and the deputy president and the other people. So that came in handy to actually to rescue people in the first place who were suffering. Secondly, it came as a very key component of evidence to go take people to the ICC. So if we are at that level, and Kenya was the first country to do that, so we can't be pioneers in some things in the world, and then we reach at an election and then we want to backtrack just because there's an election. Because we, for one, should be the people who are actually promoting this, that we need to use internet so that we can actually be able to go to the ground and be able to pin whoever it is that we want to pin. Because also trying for people who have for example, even with social media, somebody needs to take a video of people who are trying to burn somebody's house. In a village, you can be able to track these people. I mean, unless what of a situation whereby you find that a house has been burned, you have nothing of the sort. But provided that photo is posted, you have people to prosecute. So that is actually a plus. It helps us, and then we have the enabling laws to process these particular kinds of evidence. So I think the challenge our neighboring countries have, for example, Ethiopia has been a closed economy. Uganda has been closing down on social media issues because of the kind of regimes they have. DRC, I think, the same. So we cannot compare ourselves to that. So we actually at a vantage point to promote democracy, to promote use of social media in ensuring that we do not get in prosecuting crime and also promoting issues of how to actually expose or do fair elections. Yes.
Indeed. And let me first of all sample a few comments before we continue with this live discussion. We're also going to be looking at what some of the things that will be remembered. The head of state, President Uhuru Kenyatta, will be remembered. Ronald Koril, thank you for your good comment. You say good work. Kerry Ocheng is also watching from Facebook. That is Kelvin Mukovi, all the way from Masienze Ikolomani. Faith Jebet, you have issues with the IEBC. Muse Martin, you're talking about... Okay. Habari Asubuhi, Mark the Prince. Of course, there's several of them. We do thank you for your comment, but let's have that break. Let's have a break, and then we'll come back to discuss further. Also looking at some of the challenges the country still is going through. We have drought.
We need numbers.
And I'm sure Dad is not supposed to find out about this.
No, not in this life.
How would you like coming to work here at JNJ?
Is Kathy in agreement with all of this?
I'm not answerable to her.
Why don't you want the same thing as your mother? How do I trust you?
I'll help you, the board members.
How?
I'll call them one by one.
I may want to hire your cousin.
Wewe nakutambua.
Baadaye.
Juu hasa umepataka hiyo kazi, utanipatia 20%. Kio hii usisemage mimi huwa sikujegi. Wewe usifanye nikuwe tena wewe.
Mimi nimepataka nikitaka kutoka ni sherehe kazi.
Must he be here?
Alafu utaniachia mlango, mimi nitafunga after meeting.
Pitu ndio amekwambia nipigie simu niombe msamaha.
Forget. Shida gani kukataza kwenda kwa Christine usikiagi? Ona bala sasa.
Kuna mtu anakuanga side yangu kwa hii family.
Ukijana anatumia Jane vibaya sana.
You know, sometimes love can be blinding.
Unaweza ongea na yeye?
Mimi na Jane,
You know, I've always wanted a white wedding.
are you even sure you love him?
What do you know about marriage na yako hata haiendi vizuri?
Oh, Jane, you really don't know me.
Huyu msichana vile ni bad news. Si unajua familia yao vizuri ama mwasahau?
Najaribu kumuelewa kakake.
Nini nilikufanya ukoleka na dada? Ulikuwa unampenda?
Bado ninampenda. Sijaiacha kupenda babako.
Na unampendea nini?
Usinisumbulie mtoto, niko na mmoja, mimi sina watoto wengine nje.
Wewe ni mtu mzima sasa.
Kwa hivyo leo na kinyangari kati chochote ndio ufurahi, si ndio?
Mwezi mtukufu wa Muharram ambao ndio mwezi ambao tuko ndani yake sasa hivi ni mwezi ambao unahusika sana na ibada ya funga ya Tasua wa Ashura.
Kuna haki ya kuifunga siku kama hii, saumu ya Ashura, siku ambayo kwamba ni bora. Ukifunga Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala anakusamia madhambi mengi.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim.
Peace and blessings be upon you. Ya Sayyidi, Ya Rasul. Feel so lost without you. I long for that day.
You got my gold.
You took me to the cleaners. My house now belongs to the bank. My business, kaput.
The booze won't make you any better.
Lower the helm, or better still, lose the meaning.
Say I'm pathetic, but you're the pathetic one. Firing me because my brother dumped you for a better woman?
Would you like to scream some more?
Money talks.
Fanya hivi, nitatoa 100 yangu hapa hivi, utapitia baadaye pale kantini uchukue change.
Ndio hii 100, chukua hii 100 basi.
I will not let you sisters of Delilah to trick me to tell you something that you shouldn't know even at the first place.
Oh wow, it has come to this, huh? Girls, did you hear what we are now?
Omera, you cannot allow yourself to be humiliated like that. No man should ever bend low. Don't do it.
Beg yourself for what? Huh? I am in no mood for your games, Fala.
Of course, I have begged myself for transport.
We can't continue to keep on living like this.
You made it, sweetie. Now Gonzalo will never find his money again. Never.
Lionel can't do that to you. No, he can't leave with the money that is mine and my sons to inherit. No.
I want to be with you and with our children. Because for me, Ma will be like my son.
That's why I'm backing her up with this marriage, and I am more than happy to do it. You do understand what I'm saying, right?
Only have to find a way. And what could be better than to take away what you love the most?
Both of you are going to have a baby soon. Genova is here too. The king won't do anything to you.
What are you doing here?
You gave up your future for a woman.
You've disappointed me. Echo's fan.
Wiki hii kwenye Mkulima tutajifunza jinsi ya kupima mchanga na umuhimu wake kabla ya kufanya upanzi.
Mkulima atutembelee ndio tumueleze kama mchanga yake iko na viini mbaya zile zinaweza dhuru mumea.
Ungana nasi Jumapili saa 9:30 hapa KBC Channel 1 kwa uondo kamili.
Can Omanyala become the first Kenyan to win this title in 60 years? Or will it be Akani Sambini successfully defending his crown and joining Don Quarry and Linford Christie as the only three men to do so? The African champion and the defending champion drawn in adjacent lanes, and a little touch of the fist there, maximum respect between them. This is a massive, massive moment for them and a great moment for athletics.
Linford Christie winning consecutive titles for England back in 1990 and 94. Then it was Atto Bolden of Trinidad and Tobago in 98. Kim Collins, remember him for St Kitts and Nevis in 2002 was the champion. Asafa Powell took the first of 3 Jamaican golds in 2006 in Melbourne. Then Lerone Clark of Jamaica took gold in Delhi 2010, followed by Kimart Bailey Cole in 2014 in Glasgow. And Simbine, yes, he is the defending champion. The stadium announcers asking the crowd for hush as these men focus
on your mark.
Absolutely, completely. Hearing the starters' orders, don't want any noises. Clicking of cameras sometimes is a problem, but they are called to their blocks.